All right, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. We are ready to start the public hearing of the Wisconsin Incorporation Review Board to discuss the proposed village of Crosse Island. So we are going to call our meeting of our Incorporation Review Board to order. And in order to do that, we need to take a roll. So I'm Dawn Vitt. I'm the administrator of the Division of Intergovernmental Relations and the board chair. Bill, if you'd like to introduce yourself and let me know you're here.
Sure, my name is Bill Curry. I'm chairman of the town of Sherman and Sheboygan County.
All right, online, I believe we have Kurt Witinsky, who is also a board member. Kurt, if you'd like to just give a quick introduction yourself.
Sure, I'm Kurt Witinsky, former legal counsel and lobbyist for the League of Wisconsin Municipalities. I've been retired the last couple of years.
Thank you, Kurt. Tom Mapp, please. Tom? You'd like to say
I'm
hello?
Tom Mathias. I'm on the town board in the town of Rona and appointed by the Wisconsin Towns Association.
All right, thank you. Mayor Nichols.
Stand here and can't recognize him. Have him stand up, please.
They're online? Yeah.
Don't stand, please.
Is there a facility person here who can turn up the volume?
She said it's at its highest volume, so just really speak into the mic.
No,
All right,
it's the people online.
online. Yeah.
We could
Okay.
put that mic play there.
Mayor Nichols, are you online? Mayor Nichols?
Yeah.
Justin Nichols, Mayor of the City of Manitowoc. I am representative for the League of Wisconsin Municipalities.
All right, so all of our Incorporation Review Board members are here, and I'm gonna have our DOA staff members introduce themselves.
I'm Brad Valscatter. I'm the Municipal Boundary Review.
I'm Eric Schmidtke, and I'm also staff to the Municipal Boundary Review Program.
I'm Nate Judnick. I'm in the Division of Legal Services for the Department of Administration, and I assist DOA's staff.
All right, thank you. And then we'll have the petitioners and the intervenors introduce themselves in a second. I'm just gonna go over what we're doing today. So the purpose of today's hearing is to elicit testimonies from the petitioners, the Town of Campbell staff, other interested jurisdictions, residents, businesses, etc., about the proposed incorporation. This testimony will be used to help with the Incorporation Review Board apply the statutory standards in statute 66.0207 to the facts of the petition. The rules for today, procedural rules. This hearing is not a contested case or court type hearing. There are no rules of evidence, no swearing in or cross-examination of witnesses, no objections, etc. Before you begin your testimony, please state your name clearly. Only Incorporation Review Board members and department staff can ask questions. Okay, so you are talking to us. You are not asking us questions. You're giving us testimony and we can ask you questions. Okay, you can't ask each other questions. All right. No decision on the incorporation petition will be made by the board at this hearing. So if anyone wants to submit additional information after today, we will accept submissions 12 business days following this hearing. So that's until Friday, December 19th. The information, comments, and submissions we receive will be made available on our website after this date. So anything we receive, testimony-wise, other evidence-wise, by December 19th, it all goes up on the website. We don't hide anything. It's all public. All right, so it will all be available on our website after December 19th. For the handouts that you grabbed when you were coming in, there was an agenda that shows how this public hearing is organized and estimated times. Now, we publicly noticed this hearing from 4 to 6, but we are going to stay as long as we need to stay to hear from everyone we need to hear from. So if that's till after 7, it's till after 7. So don't worry about that. We are going to do our best to make sure we hear from everybody. The Town of Campbell, they get to provide a 25-minute presentation overview of their petition, followed by a short follow-up responses by a few that have let us know ahead of time that they need to leave early. And then after that, the city of Crosse will provide a similar response presentation. Then we will open the floor for general public remarks from online and in-person attendees. And we ask that public comments be limited to 3 minutes and be relevant to the subject per state law. We will take time to hear all the attendees' comments. I just want to make sure of that. So all of you that are here, don't worry, we won't not hear from you if you want to be heard from. Another handout that you saw over there that you may have grabbed on your way in was the incorporation process flow chart. You guys want to see if you guys have that, so you can stand up. So the flow chart looks like this. He'll raise your higher. All right, so he's holding up the flow chart here, and the flow chart, it basically shows that we're roughly in the middle of the process. We're at the red box. The red box is the middle of the process. That's where we are today. So after today, still to come are 2 meetings of the Incorporation Review Board to analyze how the petition compares to the statutory standards. And then we need to have our determination completed by March 29th, 2026. So there's a long way to go yet. We're only halfway. The statutory standards is another handout that was up there, and that shows the standards which the Incorporation Review Board will be applying and reviewing this proposed incorporation. Public commenters, if you could relate your comments to these statutory standards, that really helps us when we are looking and remembering testimony when we're looking at reviewing this. And then the last thing that many of you have already filled out is the speaking registration form. If you would like to present testimony to the board and are physically located here, please fill out a speaking registration form and give it to me or the staff. So feel free to bring it up to me at any time during the meeting. And then we will add it to the staff if either you are here to speak or you're just registering for or against the petition. If you are not physically located here and have not filled out a form, please post your name and address in the Zoom meeting chat, and you will be called on in the order that requests are received. And we ask that you say your name slowly and spell it out so we can fill out a form for you here in person. So that's how we're going to handle the people who aren't in the room with us. Now, then next thing after, let's see, so that's where we are right now. So I'm going to go, first thing on our agenda then is the presentation by the petitioners. So petitioners, if you are ready to go, we are ready to hear from you.
Good.
Okay.
Right here, huh?
Right here. Yeah.
Hello, my friends on the Incorporation Review Board. We meet again. I was looking through my files, and Eric, this is my 24th hearing on incorporation before you folks, and so it's always a pleasure to be in front of you. I am very happy to represent the Town of Campbell in this matter. You know, the town has operated identical to a village for decades now. They provide every urban service that any village or city could provide, a municipality could provide, with the exception today of a water utility. But they are in, and you'll hear, they're in the process of creating a water utility. Yes, ma'am.
We forgot to ask you to introduce everyone on your petition.
I was going to do that just at the end of my little spiel here, if that's okay, Doug. And the town is poised to create water utility and get it constructed. The water utility is largely needed because of PFAS contamination created at the city of La Crosse Airport. So they're here to protect their residents. And it is provided these services cost effectively, and the residents are most satisfied with the level of those services and the cost for which they are paid. And you'll hear from many of them in that regard. So very quickly, we did receive the city of La Crosse's, and I think you received it yesterday as well. They submitted a rather large amount of information, and I will not comment a lot on it because I have only had like 12 hours to review it, but we will be providing responses in writing, of course. But the characteristics of the territory, homogeneous, compact. I think some of you drove around here today and you saw that it's very homogeneous and compact. There's water on every side. And their main argument there is that the majority of the territory in the town is underwater. Well, of course, that is not something that you could develop. It is the part that could be developed is homogeneous and compact. With regard to the territory beyond the core, you witnessed today driving around, there is no territory beyond the core. It's all on the island. With regard to tax revenue, you'll be hearing from Bill Forrest, Mike Davey, and our treasurer, who will address that, and I'm sure will convince you that that criteria is met. And you will hear from the police and fire and emergency service chiefs regarding to the municipal services that are available here. With regard to impact on the metropolitan community, it is my feeling and my experience based on doing this many years that rather than hindering the impact on metropolitan community, there will be positive impacts on the metropolitan community. And the incorporation will resolve many of these conflicts. I think it's evident that Campbell gets along with all of its neighbors, save one who is here fighting this incorporation petition. The old adage, good fences make good neighbors, will come into play here. And I think many of you experienced after an incorporation, the municipalities get along very, very well. In my opinion, Town of Campbell is a poster child for meeting the criteria under section 66.027 of the Wisconsin statutes, right? That you will agree with me. So presenting here today will be Bill Forrest, who many of you know, who's been involved maybe as many times as I before you folks. Dan Kapanke, the town chair, who will present the flavor of the community for you. Mike Davey, the town engineer, who obviously will fill in all of the urban services from a utility perspective. Our police chief, Trish Strappin, will give a brief presentation. Our fire chief, Nate Nolte, likewise brief, and then our treasurer, Michelle Stahl, will be speaking to you. So, Bill, any questions of me?
No.
Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is William Forrest, or Bill Forrest, and I have a planning consulting firm, Forrest and Associates, out of Gainesville, Wisconsin. This is my 9th appearance before the board. I had 8 of those for incorporations. One was as an intervenor. And we've been successful on 6 of the other 7. So I think that speaks to a pretty good track record. And why I was lured into assisting Campbell, because I truly believe that they meet all of the standards. I always remind the client that when they're pursuing incorporation, it's a historical event. When I say historical event, there have been 5 incorporations that have been approved since 2015, so it's a very rare occurrence. Regarding homogeneous and compactness, there's a quality mix of residential, commercial, industrial, and recreational land uses. The proposed village is 100% developed. The future land use is focused on redevelopment versus new development because it is developed. The balance of the village is undeveloped due to environmental constraints such as wetlands, floodplains, and ecologically sensitive lands. All of the islands within Campbell, with the exception of French Island, are under the jurisdiction of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, which makes them undevelopable. We've not requested an exemption for that because if they're undevelopable, there's no need to meet the 3-year requirement for development. Campbell operates as a village. They have police, fire, EMS, library, street maintenance, storm sewer system maintenance, parks and recreation facilities and programs, a sewer system, actively implementing a water distribution system for the entirety of the proposed village. Through zoning code enforcement, they exercise their planning commission duties, sound financial operations and practices. The town has previously adopted village powers. Due to the sophisticated level of services and operations, the transition to the village will be effortless and seamless. Same service to the same area. No new services are necessary, therefore no tax increase. In summary and conclusion, the entire town is being incorporated. The town is fully developed. There is no territory beyond the court, no remnant town. Campbell already functions as an incorporated municipality, and there's tremendous citizen support for incorporation, as you can witness here today. Thank you. Any questions?
No questions at this time.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Campbell, for showing up. This is awesome. Thank you so much. This is the most important meeting in the history of this town. The town goes back to 1851, so this is tremendous. Thank you so much. Welcome, IRB board and staff to Town of Campbell. My name is Dan Kapanke. I'm the chair in the town. I can't begin to explain to you how thrilled and happy we are to see you here in Campbell today, December 3rd, 2025. Many of us in the audience have been waiting decades for this day, and here it is, and we're very, very grateful for this. Campbell was established in 1851, and at one time was one of the largest towns, I believe, in the state of Wisconsin. But through the years, we've lost a lot of our territory due to annexations. And despite this, despite the loss of tax base, town boards have always had a vision for this town. And it tells by the priority of services that previous boards and this board want to provide for our people. We went from a part-time constable to now 6 full-time police officers led by a chief strategy. We used to contract to have our parks and our roads maintained and plowed. Now we have a full-time staff with some of the best equipment led by Jason Hill. We have a fire department that has an ISO rating that would be the envy of most towns, I believe, in Wisconsin. And even some villages and some cities. And it's led by our chief, Nate Melby, who is known far and wide for his expertise and knowledge in this field. For over 50 years, I believe, maybe it's more, we've been working with Davie Engineering, one of the most respected engineering firms in all of Wisconsin and more certainly beyond. 50 years. And we've also been working with, and Mike Davie's here, by the way, he'll be speaking shortly. We've also worked over 30 years with our law department, Johns and Collins, Flaherty and Collins, for 30 years. And then finally, we have Michelle Stahl, who's recent to the town as a town clerk, treasurer, and zoning administrator. I predict someday this gal is going to be up for clerk of the year in the state of Wisconsin. She's awesome. So we are so proud of all of our employees, all of the staff that we work with. These people cost us money, but they're good. And our residents deserve good service to them, and we're willing to pay for it. So we've been doing this, all this services over the years at a very cost-efficient cost to the residents. I have here, this is 2024 taxes. I believe this is put out by the county. There are 54 taxing districts in the county of Crosse. Despite all these services I just talked about, we're tied for 52nd lowest in taxes on a $300,000 home. Think of that, 52nd. That means there's 51 that are taxing more in La Crosse County than we are. And yet we're providing these services. That's tremendous. And on top of that, previous boards have had foresight to be very prudent. We have over $1 million in our reserve fund. We've been waiting for this day. And we're prepared for it. We are prepared. So I've been on boards about 16 years, 3 different stints, various town boards. They've all been great. The residents in mind, the service, that's what we want. That's what we want, and that's what we strive for. And this board is no different. We want what's best for you. That's what we want. And in the past, previous boards have stepped up even above and beyond. When Skipperliner Industries needed help a couple decades ago, we acted like a village. We got grants. We helped them get through some tough times. And then 6 or 7 years ago, when it was discovered that our wells were contaminated, that town board at that time, up to this town board, did not throw their hands up in here and say, oh, well, too bad, what are we gonna do? You guys are gonna have to fend for yourselves. That wasn't what we said. We rolled up our sleeves from that time and to this day, and now we have in the process of putting in a municipal water system, PFAS free. That's who we are. That's what we do. We take care of our people. So we have nothing against the city of La Crosse or any other community in La Crosse County. We are neighbors. We want to be good neighbors. And we know that we can help the entire area. That's why we're members of the La Crosse Area Planning Committee. We're members of the La Crosse Area Development Committee. We're members of La Crosse Area Chamber of Commerce and also of the Explorer Crosse. All these organizations. And we give them money because we know that's a good investment, not just in Campbell, but the entire area. That's what we do and that's who we are. So we think the impact to the entire area will be a big positive. Over the last, I don't know, decades, we have spent in professional fees upwards of $400,000 to $500,000. Think about that. $400,000 to $500,000 on protecting our borders. It would seem to me that money could be well spent in other areas like service to our people, or how about just giving it back to the people? That makes a lot of sense. So we want to be incorporated. We want to be a village so we can plan 10 and 20 years down the road, which we can't right now because we don't know what our tax base will look like. And we want to build on the partnerships that we already have with the city of La Crosse. For 60 years, we've had sewer. For 30 years, we've had MTU bus service over here. Over 2 decades, we've had water. And then the greatest partnership in my mind is Nokomis Avenue and Cherokee. Yeah, that's our checkerboard area over in the east side by the Black River. So neighbors enjoy each other over there. They don't care if they're La Crosse or Campbell. They like each other. They're good people over there. And I would submit to you that those people over there in that checkerboard area get better services than we do over in the mainland. And maybe even on north side of La Crosse, because our police goes down there, their police goes down there, and the county must go down there, and I've even seen a state patrol guy over here. So our maintenance people are over there, the Crosse's maintenance people over there. It's okay. It's worked for 22 years, people. 22 years it's worked over there with no issues. And they're getting better services than a lot of the other people. So that if that's a cause for concern for this board, it shouldn't be because it's just working. So as you know, we needed 50 signatures to get this ball rolling. And we've got close to 900. And we could have gotten more, but we wanted to get the process going. So we turned in the petition. People here care. You can see that they're here. They care about Campbell. That's why they're here. So in closing, I would just say, Governor's Mansion, or not mansion, his office in the Capitol. On the ceiling, There's a saying that goes, the will of the people is the law of the land. You know what the will of these people are. You know the services that we offer. And you know the positive impact. No more spending money on Stan, I'm sorry, but we may not need you down the road. Spending money on professional fees. We're incorporated, we're gonna be able to do long range planning, we're gonna be able to do better for our residents in the town of Campbell. Thank you so much for hearing me out.
Good afternoon, I'm Mike Davey with Davey Engineering Company, and we've been the town engineers for years. Actually, personally, for me, for over 60 years myself, so it's been a long time. I just want to touch a little bit on the town of Campbell's utilities, ability to provide services and what they've done. And I realize you can't see much from the maps, they're the ones around the room, but I think everybody that lives here understands what the island looks like and where things are. First of all, I'll talk a little bit about the sanitary sewer system. That was actually started construction in the early 1960s and started at the south end of the island where the commercial and the industrial area was, due to demand from the people that were there that had problems. And the town of Campbell started developing the sanitary sewer system then and gradually expanded it to serve the entire island from 1962 or so up to about the mid 1980s. Took that long to get the entire system developed. But it has been fully constructed, fully paid for. Sewer utility has very little debt. It's got 26 miles of mains, 10 lift stations, serves the entire town of Campbell, plus the city of La Crosse land, which connects to the Campbell system on the island. The system is done, completed, and in good shape. Within the last 5 years, the town has inspected the entire sewer system, identified some areas that need improvement, and they have been implementing the plan over the past few years and continuing on in the next 10 to be able to modernize and keep the system up to date. The only debt that the sewer utility has is a $1 million loan that they acquired in order to capture a $250,000 grant in order to be able to help pay for the project. The sewer utility is in great financial shape, even though the budget, the rates are very reasonable. Town of Campbell operates and maintains the whole system and then contracts with the city of La Crosse for treatment service. 50 to 60% of the money collected for sanitary services in the town of Campbell goes to the city for treatment service. The rest of it covers the maintenance of the system itself. In addition to the normal operation and maintenance of the system, the town sewer utility sets aside funds so they have cash on hand to be able to provide maintenance services that need to take place. Their sewer utility has over $1.5 million in cash in the bank to be able to finance the needed improvements. They're in very good shape. The system works well. They contract with the city for treatment services, and the city has recently expanded the treatment plant and upgraded it to be able to handle the future. So overall, the sanitary sewer utility is in very good shape. Town of Campbell initially developed the water system in the year 2000 to be able to meet demands from people that had issues with water quality. And the water quality issues that were being addressed then were mainly iron and manganese, aesthetically unpleasing water, but not unsafe to drink. So there's parts of the island where they could not get good quality water with a normal sand and gravel well. And so they had complaints about the water quality, asked the town for help. The town proceeded to construct a partial distribution system back in 2005 and 2006. That serves mainly the industrial and commercial area at the south end of the island. And that system was constructed and paid for by the town through a combination of grants, loan, and assessments. All of those mains are fully paid for and have been in service for 25 years. The Campbell Water Utility to reach an agreement with the La Crosse Water Utility to provide water. And initially, the La Crosse Water Utility operated and maintained that system. When that agreement expired last year, the town of Campbell took over maintenance of that system and has been operating and maintaining it on their own since then, continuing to get the La Crosse water from La Crosse. One of the reasons that the Campbell Water Utility was not expanded back 25 years ago when we first talked about it is that the people on French Island have ready access to a very safe, prolific water supply. Drilling a well anywhere from 50 to 150 feet deep in the sand below the island, got very good quality water, low in iron and manganese, and also very high quality, high quantities of water. So it's easy for anybody to go out in their backyard and drill a well and get a very good source of water. So when we started with the water system and discussed it 25 years ago, we didn't get very far because most people recognize that they could easily get a good source of supply on their own. So the town didn't proceed with developing the overall system. That changed a couple of years ago when it became issues with PFAS contamination of the groundwater. That spread to impact a wide area of the town. And now the entire town of Campbell is under a health advisory to not use that as a source of supply. You can't change that. That groundwater contamination of the shallow sand and gravel below the French Island is going to be there for a long time. You cannot correct that problem. We have to avoid that contaminated water in order to be able to deal with the contamination. So the town has been relooked at a water system and tried to figure out a way that they could deliver a safe source of supply to the entire town of Campbell, so you don't have to deal with that contaminated water. We suspected that we had a good chance of getting a reasonable source of supply by drilling a very deep well, 500 feet deep into the sand rock, and getting water from an aquifer that's protected and confined. It's under pressure. So the water in that deep sandstone is trying to come up. And if you drill the water into the rock on French Island, you'll have an artesian well. And when we drill that test well, of course, the water is just 5 feet below the surface, much higher than a river because it's naturally coming up. The advantage of that is with the water rising in the sand rock, we don't have to deal with that contamination that's trying to get down. So we drilled a test well deep into the rock, tested it, confirmed that there's no indication of any PFAS treatment, which is exactly what we suspected because this is a very old water supply that we tapped into. The water we're trying to deal with to supply to the people existed in that place long before PFAS was ever invented or many of the other sources of contamination. So now we know we've got a good source of supply that we can deliver to the town of Campbell that does not have any contamination to deal with. The trade-off for that deeper well is it is high in iron and manganese and other things that are naturally occurring that have to be treated to have an acceptable form of supply. But that's routine. We do that all over in western Wisconsin, treat water with those natural contaminants. So that's not an issue. We've now completed drilling the final well. We know we can get the water quality we need. We also shown that we can get the quantity we need. We were concerned that a deep rock well would not be able to produce a sufficient volume of water for the community. That's now been tested and confirmed that we can get more enough water from one well so the entire island. We also tested and showed that we can drill another well nearby and not have interference to the point where we can operate both wells and still supply the water. So we have the opportunity to drill 2 wells near each other that can supply the entire town of Campbell and have a redundant supply. There's going to be a treatment facility to be able to provide treatment of that water, but as I mentioned, that's fairly routine and not something that is that expensive. So we've got the supply issue taken care of. But to have an independent system, we also need to have storage, and the preference is that elevated storage to create the water pressure at the same time. So an elevated water storage tank will be constructed on the south end of the island. The south end of the island was chosen for 2 main reasons. Number one, that's the industrial area where fire protection is especially important, but it's also far enough away from the airport where we don't need to worry about the height of the tower being any interference with the airport. Last component of a water system is a distribution system, a network of pipes to be able to deliver water to people. So we have that design. It's not that complicated to do. We can deliver water to all parts of the island, including all the way up to the sailboat club at adequate quantities and quality to be able to provide fire protection. So that system is all laid out. We're in the process of getting the approvals. The concept plan has already been approved by the Department of Natural Resources. Public Service Commission did give cause construction authorization to drill a well, which is now completed and tested. And we're in the process of taking construction authorization for the remainder of the project. From an engineering perspective, other than trying to get that uncontaminated supply, this is not a complicated project, but it's expensive. You don't go develop infrastructure that are the entire area of French Island, serving almost 5,000 people from scratch without spending a lot of money. Project will cost a lot of money to put together. The town spent a great deal of time trying to develop a number of funding partners to be able to try to result a product that's going to be affordable when we get all done. And if I can show that slide with the information on the funding, that worthwhile to take a look at what that's like. We have a funding plan in place right now that can produce the money necessary to supply the construction and the basic cost of about $65 million to construct this project. The sources of financing have been secured to the extent that we can get it done without everything designed and bid. The rest of the package will come together over the next few years. But you can see there's a lot of different components of this to be able to put together the funds necessary to build an expensive project. Got a lot of different partners. We have EPA, with USDA Rural Development. We have general fund from the town sewer utility. We have the Safe Drinking Water Loan Program. All of these different components of putting together packages of money to be able to help the town of Campbell address the PFAS contamination. One of the important parts of all of this is that we've got a lot of money to pay for it, to pay to build it, which we have got lined up. We got to pay back all those loans. It take a long time to do it. The utilities we're constructing will last easily 60, 75 years. So it's going to be there for a long time. And it'll take us 20, 30 to 40 years to pay off all of this debt. But we do have a brand new utility to start with and to be able to operate. One of the important perspectives from financing, of course, is having enough customers to help pay for these bills, because ultimately it's you that are going to pay for the system. It's all done. And it's very important that we retain the customers that we have to be able to keep this affordable. So when I go through and I project out where the revenues are necessary to be able to pay for the system, we count on the town of Campbell's boundaries staying in place and having the same number of customers. If the town of Campbell loses customers, it means there's fewer people that have left to pay for the bill. So it's very important that we have this overall system in place. I want to touch very briefly on the last component of the utility, and that is the stormwater system. It's not difficult to handle getting rid of stormwater on an island. Got lots of places to go to get to the water system. So the town doesn't need a real comprehensive storm sewer system to be able to do that. One of the things that the town is working on, though, is to be able to make sure that the stormwater gets as clean as possible before it gets to the river. So we concentrate on infiltration systems and sediment removal with the stormwater system. That's one of the advantages of a rural type community with rural section streets without curb and gutter, is that we have a natural way of developing conveyance system for the stormwater and clean the water by going through the ditches and less runoff to build it. So the stormwater utility in the town of Campbell is in great shape, does not require a big investment or any changes to going forward. So overall, sanitary sewer system is fully developed, it's done, paid for, it's in great condition and it's doing its job. The water system has got plans to be able to deliver water to the entire island. It'll take about 2 years to get this all done. We have funding package in place, more work to do. Part of the problem with nowadays, when you develop a cost estimate in 2024, and it takes you to 2025 to get a financing plan, you can throw all your cost estimates away because all the costs increase. So it's a moving target all the time, but we're going to get there and have the system in place, hopefully by the end of 2027. Thank you.
Right, Hey, Stan, I don't wanna cut you off, but, the 25 minutes, you know, that's come and gone. Okay, so just so you know that, and I wanted to say, I know you had two people that had to leave. You want them to testify now because they probably thought that you were gonna be done by now?
Ask if Matt Vinsfield's here.
Matt? Are you here? Do you need to testify now so you can leave?
Thank you.
And then we'll come back to you.
Good.
So you can say your name.
Matt Binsfeld. Giving a opinion on behalf of Brennan Group Incorporated. Ladies and gentlemen of the review board. Good afternoon, and thank you for dedicating your time here with our community today and for your service to the state of Wisconsin. My name is Matt Binsfeld. I serve as president of JF Brennan Company, a 106-year-old family business engaged in heavy civil construction, marine transportation, commercial diving, and environmental dredging. We have locations and operations throughout the United States, but our headquarters are located here at the south end of French Island in the town of Campbell. Our campus is comprised of office buildings, training, fabrication, and equipment maintenance facilities, storage and marine access on 32 acres of owned property. We lease another 3.5 acres from our longtime and good neighbors, longtime friends and good neighbors, the FJ Rovers Company that sell to us, and 6,000 square feet of office space from our good neighbors to the north, Griffith Management. On a daily basis, nearly 200 people work at our site, and we've called our present home headquarters since the late 1950s. Over our history, Brennan has had the good fortune to grow as a business in our footings here in the town of Campbell. As we have expanded, the town has been in full support of Brennan, and we have likewise done our part to be a good and responsive corporate citizen. In particular, we want to note the wonderful leadership of our Town of Campbell Police Department and their collaboration with local businesses to enhance the public safety here on the island. As a business, we are fortunate also to be in close proximity to the city of La Crosse. We are incredibly thankful for that cooperative and trust-filled relationship we have with the city and the good cooperation we see between the city and town. For our business, the importance of that cooperation cannot be understated, as was evidenced by the collaborative effort of the brave first responders and their actions to control and extinguish a large fire adjacent to our property in 2024. Although we are located in the town of Campbell, our people and our identity are from this region, the city of La Crosse and the surrounding communities on both sides of the river. As a family business, we think of the future of our business and make decisions in terms of decades, not quarters or even years. As we look at that future, we plan to grow our employment base here in western Wisconsin and southeastern Minnesota. We plan to expand our footings on French Island, which will include a one-of-a-kind commercial dive training facility in 2026. And we will continue to be a good corporate citizen, partnering with the community and all of our surrounding communities. It is within that framework, to the extent the town of Campbell can view its borders and future with more certainty, that certainty is good for the business community, allowing us to make long-term decisions with the utmost confidence. However, provided that at all costs, the deep ties of cooperation between the city of La Crosse and the town of Campbell and all other surrounding communities are not compromised. Thank you for your time.
And then, Mr. Chairman, did you have someone else that needed to go?
No, I don't.
Okay,
Thank
so if you'd like to continue with your presentation.
Sure.
Good afternoon. I'm Chief Stratman with the Town of Campbell Police Department. Our police department is fully prepared and equipped to provide effective professional law enforcement services to our community. We currently have 6 full-time officers. We operate specialized programs, including a canine program that is 100% funded entirely by donations. These programs enhance emergency response and public safety without added tax burden. 2 of our officers are members of the La Crosse County Emergency Response Team. One of the officers serves as the ERT sniper team leader. We ensure that we have advanced capabilities for high risk incidents with officers being part of this team. We also have a drone program with 2 pilots that are FAA certified to fly. We respond to over 4,500 calls for service each year, and we are consistently work in close partnership with the Crosse Police Department, often assisting due to their high volume of calls. This cooperation ensures rapid response and continuous coverage for residents, including the airport and the surrounding areas. We have mutual aid agreements with the City of La Crosse Police Department. We also have mutual aid agreements with Alaska Police Department, West Salem Police Department, and Homeland Police Department. Our police officers work well with all the other police departments in the area. We team together on investigations and work together to solve major crimes in the area. Our department maintains strong professional standards reflected in memberships with Wisconsin Narcotics Officers Association, the International Association of Chief of Police, Wisconsin Law Enforcement Canine Handlers Association, and also the Wisconsin Chiefs of Police Association, and participation in the ICAC Task Force, which is Internet Crimes Against Children. These affiliations ensure our officers receive ongoing training and access to statewide and national resources. We also have a reserve program with approximately 11 officers. They are volunteers and they assist us with Oktoberfest races, other community events. They also help out with Alaska Reserve officers when they are ringing bells currently tonight for the Salvation Army. In short, our department is already functioning at a high level, demonstrating capability, readiness, and a strong record of service. We are fully prepared to meet the policing needs of our incorporated municipality and to continue protecting our community with professionalism and efficiency. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Nate Melby. I'm the fire chief here for the town of Campbell. I've been on the fire department here in Campbell and served this community for 28 years. And I've been the fire chief for the last 16. And you can see our fire department. There's a photo of our fire department. We are a fully modern all hazards emergency services organization. If you don't mind advancing the next slide, please. That is a picture of our first fire station at the former Campbell Town Hall. That is today Weber's Auto Body, if you've had a chance to drive around the town of Campbell. And I just think it's important to look at where we've been to understand where we are today and the capabilities that we have. And if you look at the firefighters that are there, many of you, if you get an up close look, you probably recognize some of them. Those firefighters were the people in 1946, March of 1946, that decided that we needed to do a better job protecting this community from the dangers of fire. And so we started our own fire department and we staffed our fire department with volunteers. And for 80 years next year, we will have provided that service to this community, which is very notable. And some of the people that are there, their relatives continue to serve on our roster today. Generations of servants to our community. Thank you. Go to the next one. So as I mentioned, we're an all hazards emergency services provider. And what that means is we don't just go to fires. We provide emergency medical service. We actually go on hundreds of emergency medical calls per year. We provide community risk reduction. We review plans for development in the community. And we make sure that in the planning for the future of our development, that we reduce the dangers of fire and we enhance our ability to respond to those dangers. We also provide education for residents in the dangers of fire. We work with our children in schools. We try to help as people learn and grow in our community to see what risk fire can be to a community like ours and help reduce that risk through education. We also have a drone program, and our drone program has provided mutual aid service across the state of Wisconsin in conjunction with the Capitol Police and in conjunction with our Town of Campbell Police Department. We have ice and water search and rescue capabilities. We're an island. So we have 2 boats. We spend a lot of time training in ice and water. And we have on our record several rescues that have happened through the years of people that have had issues falling through the ice and other things. And the other thing that I would say is this is really just a sample of some of our abilities. Once again, we live on an island and flooding is something that we deal with frequently. 2 years ago, we had the 3rd highest record flood that our community has ever experienced in the history of the Mississippi River flooding. And through the resources in our department, combined with our town maintenance department and police departments, a volunteer crew provided 24/7 pump maintenance coverage to completely de-water the south end of French Island, south of Clinton Street. We had water up to our knees, and with some creativity and some use of hydraulics, we were able to procure pumps through mutual aid with the Army Corps of Engineers. And we were able to literally make the water go away to protect the homes of our residents on the south end of French Island. We pumped the streets dry with the dedication of our personnel. So I'd like to talk a little bit about a fire that happened in October of 2024, October 1st, a day we'll never forget. This fire was the largest fire, largest industrial fire in the history of our community and perhaps La Crosse County. And the reason that I want to just give you a visual is because, as you can see, it's a lot of fire. Scope and scale, this is a very large incident. It involved multiple agencies. We were on scene in about 6 minutes. And as we get a little bit further into the video here, just to give you an idea of this scale, at 1 minute and 25 seconds into the video, you will see a ring around the outside of the fire. That ring is a train. The entire train was involved in the fire and everything else that was there. So when you look at it, it's a complex operation for a fire department to manage an incident such as this. And I was very proud of the way that we collaborated with our mutual aid partners to work together to mitigate the incident. When you're in the fire service, we prepare for those days, but those are once in a career kind of days. And so it showed our training working properly, our ability to work with other agencies and share resources and communities coming together to help. And so, I just wanted to provide this illustration because that's the way the system is supposed to work. Everybody contributes in mutual aid. We contribute what we have, we work together, and by sharing our resources, we're able to do something together, like mitigate a massive fire. You can see that ring around the outside there. Like mitigate a massive fire that none of us by ourselves would be able to mitigate. There. And I'll just share also, as the incident commander of an incident like that, that's game day. That's the day it all comes, all the training, everything comes together, all the relationships, your investments in our equipment. That's the day. And we proved that we could do it. So while we're moving to the next slide, I'll just share a few things about that. That day we were on scene in approximately 6 minutes. The initial call was for a fire in a pile of wood chips. And that's what the fire was. In that 6 minute response time, the initial response was Campbell and La Crosse responding at the same time, arriving at a similar time. And then we requested mutual aid from Onalaska Fire Department. And then later in the day, we also requested additional mutual aid from La Crescent Fire and Shelby Fire. La Crosse County communities and Houston County, Minnesota communities working together for public safety. Now, our fire rating has been mentioned. Fire departments are rated by an organization called ISO. And ISO looks at the fit of a fire department to the community it serves. And that's how they choose to apply the rating. They look at different categories of things like training, water supply, the way that you respond, the equipment that you have. And from that, they apply a rating. 10 is basically no fire department. 1 is some of the largest fire departments in the country. And so we're very, very fortunate for the size of community we are to have an ISO rating of 3. That puts us in basically less than 10% of fire departments nationwide have class 3 rating. So top tier nationwide. And it applies to all properties within 5 miles of our fire station. And once again, we're on an island. Everything's within 5 miles of the fire station. Our fire department also has a very significant regional impact. And this is something that you may not hear about a lot. Of course, you might hear that we run mutual aid calls and we support other departments. We provide a mutual aid statewide. We've actually provided mutual aid across the region to counties like Vernon County, south of La Crosse, Houston County in Minnesota. We all share a little bit when everybody has a bad day. But these other organizations are things that we do to help ourselves develop professionally and become more competent in what we do. So we're part of the La Crosse County Fire Officers Association, the Wisconsin State Fire Chiefs Association. I'm actually a past president of the Wisconsin State Fire Chiefs. I currently serve on the board of the International Association of Fire Chiefs Great Lakes Division. We are members of the Wisconsin Firefighters Association and also the National Volunteer Fire Council. So your fire department here in the town of Campbell has a reach far beyond the boundaries of French Island. And we have an impact that helps us be better to serve you as a community, and we're very proud of that. We have mutual aid agreements, before you jump to the next, we have mutual aid agreements with all the fire departments in La Crosse County, La Crescent, Minnesota, the mutual aid box alarm system, which is a statewide system that actually gets us access to resources in Wisconsin, and then through that system, Illinois, Iowa, Michigan. We also have a DNR agreement to help with wildland firefighting in the wildland urban interface, where we integrate with wildland in other communities through mutual aid. And the Tri-County Firefighters, which is over 30 departments on the Minnesota side of the state border. Now we can touch on this week. Thank you. So a few things that I just want to mention. You know, when it comes to that tie-yard fire, our prior boards had the foresight to put hydrants on the south end of French Island so that we could have water to fight fires for our businesses on that end. And because of that decision that night, we were able to have a secure water supply by using those hydrants. So I just want to express thanks, that kind of planning, that kind of foresight. And now we're talking about a municipal water system where we will have hydrants everywhere. It will only help us with our insurance ratings. It will only help us with our tactical capabilities. It will position us for the future in a way that we haven't before. We've had multiple fires at that site before, and hopefully we never have one again. But the mutual aid and the way that we work together, we've not worked with La Crosse at every one of those fires, but we work together like we were interchangeable parts, collaborating, one team. We talked about it on scene from the beginning, and we were all firefighters working together that day, and I'm very proud of that. I've presented to the Wisconsin Firefighters Association 2 sessions at their state conference, the Wood County Fire Chiefs Association, and also the La Crosse Emergency Planning Committee, to talk about the lessons we learned together from that incident and share those and pay those lessons forward. It's also notable that our budget for the fire department from 2025 to 2026 only increased $1,000. It was actually less than $1,000. We're providing a valuable value-added service. So now if you look up here, that photo in the center is our firefighters at Summit Elementary School in French Island. And we're teaching the kids fire prevention education. The theme this year was about lithium-ion battery safety. We also have the Santa Run, which is coming up this Sunday, where we bring Santa around our community, and we continue to spread our message of fire danger through that event. We have people that come from all over the region for the Santa Run to bring their kids over. On the lower right, you see one of our firefighters. He's our drone pilot, so he's flying the drone to document the flooding. And then, of course, every year we have our pancake breakfast, and we appreciate everyone's support that comes out. But the reason that I want to show you that, and I want to explain this, we are you. We're your friends and we're your neighbors. When we respond from next door. And if you look at the folks in the back of the room, every one of those people has given thousands of hours this year to serve this community. Service is love made visible. Service is love made visible, and these people love this community. We want to see it go on. Thank you.
Hi, DOA. I'm Michelle Stahl, and I have the privilege of speaking to you guys tonight as the town clerk and treasurer of the town of Campbell. But I also have the privilege to speak as a resident tonight. As a mom who chose this community almost 3 years ago because it felt like the right place for my son and I to build our lives. When I moved to Campbell, I was looking for more than just an address. I wanted a community similar to how I grew up in southeastern Minnesota for my son to grow up in. I want him to be able to play outside, ride his hoverboard, go to the park, and I wanna know that he's safe when he's out there. One of the biggest blessings about living here is I can trust that he is safe and sound in this tiny city, and that's what he started calling it when we moved here. He turned it his tiny city. Not every parent has that peace of mind, but here we do. Here we also have our needs met. We can get home on a Friday night and we never have to leave the island if we don't want to. Groceries at Quillen's are easy. I can get my iced coffee from Quick Trip, that's easy. Wanna go fishing? One of our favorite hobbies, we spend the weekends out there, that's easy too. Some of my favorite moments with my son have been walking the spillway, going to Frogwater Pond. Campbell gives us the mix of small town simplicity with real quality of life. When I think about incorporation as a mom and a homeowner, I think about preserving these feelings. Incorporation is about ensuring the character of this place, which is what drew us here. It isn't shaped by decisions made elsewhere, but by people who actually live here. From the perspective of a town employee, I see every day how much this community already functions as a village. We provide police protection, fire, EMS, sewer utility. We are actively moving towards a municipal water system. We maintain roads and parks serving over 4,000 people. What makes this town stand out even more is that we provide a high level of service while keeping property taxes among the lowest in La Crosse County. In 2024, the owner of a $300,000 home paid about $3,480 in property taxes. The countywide average is nearly $4,700. So this savings is what our residents see and benefit from daily. Beyond having the lowest tax burdens in La Crosse County, the town is also in a very strong overall financial position. Our equalized value has grown to more than $583 million, placing Campbell's solidity alongside other established villages in this state, while offering many services that some villages don't offer. Our financial management is stable and conservative, and we have the capacity to continue delivering services efficiently as a village. Campbell is not only acting like a village, but we have the financial strength of one as well. Another major strength I'd like to highlight is we have already adopted village powers, and we operate our own planning and zoning authority. This is a significant service that we provide to our residents. By administering our own zoning, we are able to respond to residents quickly, support responsible development, and maintain local decisions that affect our neighborhoods and businesses. Being able to offer this service keeps the decisions local, transparent, and tailored to the unique needs of the island. As a mom, I want my child to continue growing up in a community that is safe, welcoming, and grounded. A community where decisions are made by the people who care about it as much as we do. As a town clerk treasurer, I want to ensure that our community has the stability, authority, and long-term structure to protect our services and maintain our identity. French Island already operates like a village. Incorporation does not change who we are. It simply guarantees that the decisions shaping our future remain here in the hands of the people who live here, work here, and love this place. I thank you, DOA, for coming tonight and hearing us. And I thank everyone here in the town that has supported this incorporation effort.
Okay, so the petitioners have completed their presentation. If you would have slips that you have not turned in yet, please feel free to bring those up to me at any time. So if you have those, please bring them up. Then we are going to go to the presentation by the intervenors. So Crosse, if you are ready to begin. And just so you know, when it comes to testimony slips, I have about 2 hours worth of testimony slips in front of me right now. So we've got that coming yet. So you'll have your chance to speak.
Thank you and good evening. My name is Jared Smith. I'm an attorney with Foreman Clark and we're special counsel to the city of Crosse. I'm joined here with Mayor Shondell Washington Spivey and Council President Tamara Dickinson, who will be presenting public comment later. I want to first note to the Incorporation Review Board that the city has prepared a report in addition to this presentation. I urge the IRB to carefully review the report, to review the report in detail. This presentation simply cannot provide and touch on all of the issues that are raised with the incorporation and are raised within our report. But I do intend to highlight some of the main ones here for the board. Now there is support in the town for the incorporation of the proposed village, and we wouldn't be here if there wasn't. The outpouring here does show that. However, community support is not sufficient. It does not determine whether incorporation is permissive. The legislature has determined that proposed villages, particularly proposed villages that are metropolitan villages, must meet specific statutory state standards. These standards are up there. And the petitioners must show that the proposed village meets all 5 relevant standards. They have not met that burden. This is not the first time that the town has attempted to incorporate. There have been at least 2 other attempts that have reached the level of the IRB. 2 in 1970s that the precursor to the IRB, the DOA, denied for failure to meet all 5 statutory standards. There's another attempt in early 2000s that never reached the level of an IRB hearing because the city and the town reached a compromise before that point. That agreement has recently expired, which limited the ability of the city to annex parts of the town and limited the ability of the town to seek incorporation. So now we're here. The current petition once again fails to meet those same statutory standards that the IRB found that it failed to meet in the 1970s. Now, the first standard is not met because the proposed village is not compact or homogeneous, physically, politically, or socially. It behaves already like one of the many neighborhoods of the city of La Crosse. The total area is 12.9 square miles that the proposed village is seeking to incorporate. As said, most of this is underwater. It is within the floodplain. It is undevelopable. It is not accessible by anything other than boats. The developed area encompasses only 1.9 square miles. Now, this area is not compact or homogeneous physically or politically. If you look up here, it's very long. It stretches 4 miles long, and it ranges between around 4,000 feet wide to about 200 feet wide, most of it on the lower end. It's bisected by I-90 straight down the middle, and there are numerous parcels or areas that are only accessible by water or over village streets. The city airport juts, cutting it almost in half, and there are areas here, some of which I'll go into in a second, that are only accessible by going over the city property. One of those is to the north. There are homes that are separated north of the airport that you have to travel over the city to get to. The 2 most egregious examples are on Nokomis Avenue or Hiawatha Island, which is on the left, and that sits between the mainland and French Island, and the other areas north of there on French Island, the city's airport interchange industrial park. You can see the checkerboard boundaries here, where you have to pass through the city to reach the town. Already on Hiawatha, over half the property is already within the city, creating inefficiencies in services and uncertainty on who will provide services or plan in the future. Now, the proposed village is also tied to the city of La Crosse physically. Access. There we go. Access to the proposed village is over city streets or through the city. Interconnectedly within the village, proposed village, you have to travel north and south on county roads, B or BW. There's virtually no pedestrian ways connecting the residential areas. And over 54% of the property on French and Hiawatha Islands are already part of the city. Now, it's not just physically and politically, but it's socially, that the residents depend on the city for most or all of the retail, service, social, and employment needs. Now, the population of the proposed village trends 10 years older than the county, yet there are no senior-oriented businesses or services in the proposed village. Those have to be received and obtained in the city or other communities. Now, the community is also tied to the city through its schools. The town is part of the La Crosse Public School District, and the La Crosse Public School District offers school choice, meaning students can attend any of the public schools of their choice, the choice or charter schools that are part. Now, except for Summit Elementary, all the district and charter schools are located in the city, the middle school, the high school, the other elementary. And as for Summits, as the middle map shows, the attendance map, about half of the students there come from the city and half come from the town. There are no preschools, 4Ks, or out-of-home daycares on French Island. There are no hospitals on French Island. Town children are born in the city, raised with City of La Crosse children at child care facilities in the city, attend elementary school with city kids, attend middle and high school in the city, and obtain college degrees together at one of the 3 universities that are within the city. They'll work in the city and obtain all their senior services in the city. The town is inextricably connected to the city of La Crosse physically, politically, and socially, behaving much like one of the city's many neighborhoods. And for this reason, the proposed village cannot meet the standard of 1A. Now, for standard 1B, it's also not met because there is no potential for substantial development in the proposed villages beyond the core. The standard requires that there be that potential for development. As previously said, only under 15% of the proposed village is developable, and it's already mostly developed. The town identifies only about 29 acres of undeveloped land, some of that being unleased park. Now, this standard is here to ensure that a newly incorporated village can provide the type and level of services needed by a metropolitan community. The size here, though, is going to be locked in place. Unlike many other towns that might seek incorporation, there is no potential for expansion, no potential for annexation. It will be bordered by the river and by the city. Now, the value of development is not increasing, and the population is projected to decrease as it grows older. These are not the conditions that are favorable to the proposed village being able to grow to provide the type and level of service that an incorporated municipal metropolitan community needs. So consequently, the proposed village cannot meet standard 1B, and the IRB should not set troubling precedent by waiving this requirement. For standard 2A, it's also not met because the proposed village does not have the capacity to raise sufficient tax revenue to function as a metropolitan village. The town has been operating at a deficit for at least the last 2 years. Its fund balance is projected to decrease by over $1 million between the beginning of 2025 and the end of 2026, from 1.5 million to just over $500,000. And the town has been using this fund to pay for existing operating costs for the limited services that it's currently providing. The proposed village has limited capacity to raise the levy due to the lack of development or development potential. Over the last couple of years, because of net new construction, they've only been able to raise it by about $4,000 a year. That means that the proposed village will be left unable to provide the level of services expected from a metropolitan community, including maybe some of the ones that currently are, without its residents passing a referendum to increase their property taxes or engaging in borrowing to fund operational expenses, which will also increase property taxes in the proposed village. Now, I'll touch on this a little bit more later in more detail, but the town's proposed water system will further strain the town's fiscal capacity and its residents. There will be both direct water rate impacts and additional costs beyond that. The direct water rate impact to residents to fund the high construction costs of the water system are significant. Water rates alone will need to pay for over $70 million in construction costs, which excludes over 80% of the cost of repairing the streets that must be torn up to lay pipes. There's high annual O&M costs that will be added to this burden. And this will result in the residents paying the highest water rate in Wisconsin, and potentially twice the current highest water rate in Wisconsin. A third-party analysis estimates that the rates will be between $2,300 to $2,700 per year for the average residential user. There will be additional costs beyond the water rates. There will be increased property taxes to pay the additional almost $12 million in street repair costs, which will not even include fully replacing roads or installing curb, gutter, sidewalks, or bike lanes that would be expected in a metropolitan community. There will be increased sewer rates from sewer main replacement and repair for the city's largely 60 to 70-year-old sewer system with significant infiltration problems. There's not detail in the proposed village's report about what they will do with the sewers, but these will be additional costs, and it would be practically indefensible to not replace them at the same time as laying the water pipes. Otherwise, you will be tearing up a newly repaired street within maybe a month if there's a failure, or a couple of years if they're replaced. And homeowners will be hit with additional costs, including the cost to abandon their existing private wells and an estimated $7,500 each to construct each private water lateral to their homes. I'll be touching more on this water system later, but suffice to say, the proposed village already operating as a deficit as a town cannot meet standard 2A. Now for standard 2B, this is relevant for services because the city filed a resolution indicating a willingness to annex the entire town. Now, this standard is also not met because the city provides a higher level of service and needed services than the proposed village can. Now, once again, I encourage the Incorporation Review Board to review the city's report. There are numerous pages on the comparison of services between what the city provides and what the proposed village would be able to provide. In 25 minutes, there's just not enough time to go into all of them. So we have selected a few to provide comparisons. So, for example, the city has fully staffed specialized divisions within City Hall with over 70 employees. The proposed village town currently has 2.5, and they're proposing to go to 3 full-time employees to cover all administrative functions. This includes 1 person to act in the combined roles of clerk, treasurer, and zoning administrator, an issue that the town's auditors have repeatedly flagged as raising the potential for fraud or material mismanagement of finances. Now, the Public Works also operates with a reduced staff. The city has 121 full-time employees between parks and recreation and Public Works. And the proposed village had 4.5, proposing to go up to 5.5 with the water system operator. And that will be assuming that they can find someone who will fill that singular role for the water system. The city also has over 1,500 acres of parkland and numerous other acres for recreation. The town has 27 acres, which could only be expected to decrease. 1 park will be taken over by the proposed water treatment system, and another park is leased and could be potentially developed in the future for commercial use. Probably most significantly is the difference between the fire departments. The city has a fully staffed professional fire department with 98 full-time firefighters. Every one of them is certified in EMT, and 16 of them are paramedics, with a paramedic always on staff at each fire station ready to go out. The town and the proposed village will retain a volunteer fire department, only some of which are EMTs and no paramedics. Again, in a community with a population that ages 10 years older than the surrounding county. Now, it's not just the higher level of services that the city can provide, but it's the higher level of services that the city is already providing to the community. The town depends on La Crosse public safety. We heard about the mutual aid and the response of the fire department to the 22-hour fire. The city also provides public transit, the city streets and parking system that allows residents in the town to go to employment, go shopping, go to their services, go to their medical appointments. And the municipal transit utility with the bus service that the city provides in French Island that would not be possible to be provided by a metropolitan community like that is being proposed without the city's assistance. There's a Crosse Public Library that over 1/3 of the town are users of. 1,500 Campbell resident users. It offers free programs and events for children, adults, and seniors, and is the resource library for the system, the library system that Campbell was part of. In addition, the city provides the types of metropolitan parks and recreation facilities that you would expect in a community. They have the public beaches, the public pools, the splash pads, and many other sort of resources that are not found in the town of Campbell, but are on the doorstep to the town. If you traveled here over Clinton Street, you would have passed by a number of these, including one on Hiawatha Island. And I'm going to touch on the proposed water system. The city recognizes that this is a concern, and the city has already invested in their own system to extend water up to the French Island into the areas that the city has. The city closed down 3 of its wells due to PFAS. Now, the town's proposed a water system for solving their own problems here in the town. And this system has a couple issues. It's risky and it's costly. The system is already contaminated with naturally occurring radium. Because they have to dig down to a deeper aquifer, this aquifer has radium. They will have to treat for this radium, and there will be radon off-gassing from this treatment that will occur in the residential neighborhood, a current park where they're proposing to put the treatment system. There will also be higher costs to dispose of radium-contaminated wastewater from the treatment process. Now, this radium issue is the same reason that the city of Waukesha constructed a 20-mile pipeline, both to bring water in and to send waste back to the city of Milwaukee, rather than treating their own radium-contaminated deep water aquifer. There's also a thin layer between the upper aquifer and the lower, so there is always potential to become impacted by PFAS in the future. And there's questionable quantity. The quantity estimated by the town engineer is unlikely with 2 wells located in the same park. And if it does in fact need a 3rd well, that will be expensive and difficult to do. And I think very importantly, it also will provide only 2 hours of storage for firefighting, which we'll touch on in a minute. Now, the system is also going to be extremely costly. The town's engineers' assumptions are unrealistic. There are too high of estimates and too high of estimates of what grants will be obtained. An independent cost estimate by Donahue and Associates estimated that there will be $70 million in construction costs, almost $600,000 of annual O&M costs. And the Public Service Commission of Wisconsin has estimated that the O&M costs could be even higher, up to $625,000 in 2029. Now, water rates for this proposed system are going to be set by the Public Service Commission. They're the ones that determine what water rates will be. The town is failed to provide a water rate estimate using PSC approved methods. Using these methods, Trilogy Consulting estimated that the cost will be at the low end and best case scenario, $2,300 per resident per year. It could be up to $2,700 if only half the grants are received. And the Public Service Commission estimated that if there are no grants received, the cost per resident would be $3,624 per year just for the water service. Again, these will be the highest water rates that anyone pays in Wisconsin. Now, this is a comparison of services. And the city would be able to provide less expensive, more reliable, more efficient, and timelier water service. If the city were to provide water service, it would cost at least $30 million less than the proposed system. At least $30 million. It would source water from southern La Crosse through pipes the city has already constructed. It would involve no new wells, no new tower storage, no radiant treatment systems needed, and no duplication of distribution facilities, like the proposed second water line running down the same Nokomis Avenue on Hiawatha Island and going across the river. The city water meets all safe drinking water standards, and because of existing city facilities on French Island, the water could be provided much faster to the most impacted areas within French Island. It also provides a much greater level of fire protection than the proposed village system could possibly provide. Unfortunately, meaningful discussion of providing city water has not occurred because the town refused to holistically discuss other governmental issues, including the jagged boundaries and annexations, as part of the discussion of providing city water. Now, fire protection is a significant issue. As has already been said, in the last 22 years, the town has experienced 3 major fires at the same facility. In 2024, the fire burned for 22 hours. That is 20 hours longer than the proposed storage capacity of the town's water system. And the town would be proposing to disconnect from the water source that provided over 1 million gallons of water to fight this fire. A capacity that required the city of La Crosse, with all their wells, to turn on an additional well during the middle of the day in order to provide the level of fire protection that this fire needed. It relied on specialized city equipment to fight. The boom showing the water streaming onto the fire was City of La Crosse Fire Department and their response to the fire. The proposed village cannot provide this level of fire protection with a volunteer fire department, and the proposed water system cannot provide this level of fire protection to the existing industries or any future development. For this reason, the city provides the higher level of services that this area needs, and the proposed village cannot meet the standard 2D. The final standard 2D is not met because the incorporation will hinder the solution of governmental problems impacting the metropolitan community. We've already touched on many of these. The confusing boundaries and services will be locked in. Nokomis sees garbage trucks run down it twice a week. Garbage is out twice a week. Residents may not know who to call if they have service issues. City streets are not improved because of the issue of joint town and city ownership. The inadequate fire protection will be locked in. The mutual aid that the city provides to the town is a one-sided benefit. Now, there's been talking about the town's mutual aid provisions and working with the community. However, they chose not to participate in a La Crosse County funded study on shared fire protection. La Crosse started doing to look at the issues of providing fire protection, particularly through volunteer fire departments within the greater La Crosse area. They will also have issues with development. The town does sit at a confluence of rail transit, interstate transit, water, and the city's airport. Yet the city has the services, the expertise, and the resources to assist in the development that this area needs to grow the region. Incorporation will prevent that use, and it will prevent the development that will be needed here in the future to support the region. It also locks in existing inequity in providing services that are used by all. The city provides many of the public services that are already used and utilized by the community, including parks at the doorstep. The city also hosts the region's services, including social, cultural, educational, recreation, and religious needs of the La Crosse area. Many of these are provided from tax-exempt properties within the city. And the city still has to support these tax-exempt properties with their public safety needs, with their fire protection needs, with their streets, with their parking. These services are used by others, yet only the city is the one contributing to the cost of maintaining them. As said before, the population trends 10 years older, and the city provides and hosts the vast majority of senior services. Incorporation will prevent annexation or other arrangements
where the town would contribute to the cost of these services that the residents need and rely on as part of the metropolitan community. And as the population ages, there will be more burdens placed upon the city of La Crosse in providing these services. The city will be asked to do more with less as time goes on, and this will impact the greater metropolitan community and what's available and what the residents need and have access to. The proposed village cannot meet any of the 5 standards necessary for incorporation. Again, these standards are all covered in the city's report in much greater detail than here, and I do encourage the IRB and anyone else interested to read that report and see what the city provides. But in conclusion, the proposed village is neither homogeneous nor compact. There's no potential for the substantial development needed of a metropolitan community. It does not have the capacity to raise sufficient tax revenue to fund the services that it will need. The city is already providing a higher level of services, many of which are utilized by the town residents, and incorporation will impact and hinder the solution of governmental problems impacting the region. Council President Dickinson will be providing public comment regarding her connection to the French Island neighborhood and the city of La Crosse and her experience with fire service on the island. And Mayor Washington Spivey will then provide public comment regarding the equitable issues related to the city providing and hosting the region services and the issues that it causes. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Council President Dickinson, please.
Good afternoon. It's really well. I'm Tamara Dickinson. I'm City of La Crosse Council District 1 and also City of La Crosse Council President. I was elected in 2023 and I became Council President in April of this year. My district is the northern part of La Crosse, the airport, the checkerboardness of Nokomis Avenue. As a career, I was a 42-year RN in the La Crosse area, and I retired in 2021. I have lived on French Island in the town of Campbell. I was there for 17 years, from 1983 to 2001. I'm really proud of my time on the city of the town of Campbell, and it was an easy transition to move to La Crosse in 2001. La Crosse was always a key resource for myself. It included shopping, school activities for my sons, entertainment, and work. My neighborhood now is Logan Northside Neighborhood Association, and similarly, I refer to my French Island neighborhood and retain that identity for all that it offered for my sons during their time growing up here. I am concerned about how my friends on French Island will deal with fire service issues. In 2024, the Omaha track fires required the La Crosse Fire Department to assist for 22 hours. That required 1 million gallons of water. And that was only provided because we had the resources to open up additional wells to assist with the amount of water that was required for this fire suppression. The proposed water system will only provide 2 hours of water service for a similar fire. That concerns me because I also remember a waterfront house that was a total loss in my neighborhood when I still lived there in the late 1990s. It was very traumatic to watch your neighbor lose everything. I do know that as a city, we are close by and we can offer other services that we are already skilled and equipped to offer. For instance, we are able to deal with nuisance properties such as the hotel that is on French Island. We would be able to do additional abatement for those kinds of properties. We also have expertise in development that could utilize our planning services. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Washington Spivey.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here today. I'm Mayor Shondell Washington Spivey. I am the newly elected mayor in the city of La Crosse as of April 1st of 2025, sworn in on April 15th. I have some mixed feelings, right, about this. We all know why I'm here as a representative of the city of La Crosse, but also I got married in this building in 2023, right? And so like I'm holding that memory that actually happened in the room over there. And it was a great day. And so being here today now for this, battling with the happiness and the, all that. Nevertheless, I moved to the city of La Crosse in 2007. And when I moved here, I moved here for college. And it wasn't actually until about 2015 when I started working for the school district as a cultural liaison that I even realized that the French Island was its own town, right? I thought it was a part of the city for so long. In my role as a cultural liaison, I would travel often to Summit Elementary to work with students, to meet with principals and teachers and various things like that. And so I must be honest that during my campaign and currently being the mayor, the relationships between the city and townships often come up. And I gotta be honest with you, as for those of you that may know me in this room, I'm a big community guy. Dan know this as well. I'm really big on building bridges and building community. But one of the things that I realized is that not many people really realize that French Island or the town of Campbell is not a part of the city of La Crosse. And that distinction is mainly only recognized during conversations about taxes, right? Because people constantly say, well, La Crosse pays too high of taxes. And then also in election season. And in fact, during the election season, I remember having people come up to me and say, I would have voted for you if I was a part of the town, or if I was part of the city of La Crosse. Or I even had folks who would say, I would be a part of the city of La Crosse, but again, the taxes are too high. And as I say this, I think it's also important to realize and understand that Town of Campbell residents also have approached me about various issues within the city of La Crosse, be it street repairs or other issues like our unsheltered issue, which is a regional issue, but oftentimes is placed on the city of La Crosse to take care of. And I don't mean this to be disrespectful in any way, but many French Island residents utilize the rich resources, private and public services in the city of La Crosse without having to contribute to the tax base. And I'm someone, again, that is very community driven and talk about equity and access to resources because I think it is important. But I am also beholden to my community and to the city taxpayers of La Crosse that often struggle with the understanding of how townships like the town of Campbell and many others continue to benefit from the city taxpayer subsidized services. And so tonight, I don't want to be before you long. In fact, I'm going to cut my remarks short so you can get to listening to some of the other public hearing. But one of the things I really want to make sure you consider in your decision is that you not only think about the town of Campbell residents, but you also think about the sacrifices of the residents of the city of La Crosse. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mayor. All right, we are ready to begin the public testimony portion of the evening. So I'm going to read the first 5 names if you want to get ready to testify. Scott Johnson, Cassandra Hannon, Gregory Parks, Diana Parks, Bob Wolfert. You are up next, so Scott. All right. How about I hand you the microphone and you can just stay right there. Yeah, 3 minutes maximum, please.
So, see a lot of familiar faces out there. You know, there was a point in time when I was listening to testimony from the attorney for La Crosse. And anybody that knows me knows I have a habit of nodding off when the conversation's kind of turned to BS. And at one point in time there, I woke up and he was talking about fiscal responsibility and how we really needed the city of La Crosse. I thought, that's funny. I've listened to 3 mayors tell me why the reason why they needed to annex it to the town of Campbell is to solve their own financial problems. So I don't know anybody could sit here and say that they got so many more resources than we have, and we've proved it over the years. Last thing, y'all notice I'm sitting in a wheelchair. And I had what's called renal metastatic cancer. And it's a cancer of the kidneys. And my sister is of a strong belief that it came from drinking well water on French Island for so many years. I have no idea whether that's true or not. It could also be because I spent my life hauling trash too. I don't know, but there is a very good chance that that's why. And, you know, I hope that regardless of what happens with us, that the town will just push forward with their own water system, because I feel like it's the only way that we're gonna get what we want. I don't think that most people wanna be part of La Crosse's water system, because as many people know, they covered up for several years that it was their own well. The island were contaminated, and they didn't give that information to the town of Campbell, which would have been nice to know. That's probably my 3 minutes, and hey, just thanks to all you guys for coming, and it's really nice to see a lot of you again.
Thank you, Cassandra Hennon.
Hello. Thank you for being here. My name is Cassandra Hannon. I believe I can offer a unique perspective on the incorporation petition. Though I do not currently live on French Island, I grew up here and spent several years raising my children here. I attended town board meetings growing up, as my father, who just heard, served on the town board for 16 years. Attending these meetings and watching the public participation is what ultimately inspired me to go into a career in public service. I served as both the deputy clerk treasurer and as the clerk treasurer for the town of Campbell for a combined 10 years. I also served as the deputy clerk treasurer for the village of Holman. Ultimately, the day-to-day operations between the town and the village were not much different. During my time with the town, I had thousands of interactions with town residents, including a lot of people in this room. I ran elections, issued permits, attended countless town board meetings, collected taxes, and performed just about every administrative task that you could name, including clerk, treasurer, and zoning administrator. And yes, City of La Crosse, it is possible for one person to do all 3 of those jobs. Throughout my childhood and my experience working for the town, one message was abundantly clear. The residents of the town of Campbell are strongly independent. They have their own identity and would scoff at being confused with a resident of the city of La Crosse. I currently serve as the administrative coordinator for Vernon County. There are villages within the county that I serve that lack several of the services that the town of Campbell currently provides. Some do not have a police department, zoning, or code enforcement. Most share a fire department with another municipality. They do not have professional staff or an administrative office open to the public Monday through Friday like the town. The town of Campbell has its own police department and has recently added an additional officer. The town's fire department is staffed with all volunteers and has a strong first responder presence as well, something that's severely lacking throughout the state of Wisconsin right now. The town provides sewer service and is working to secure a water utility. The town has administered its own zoning and land regulations since 2013, including plenty of nuisance abatement, as bingo. They enforce the ordinances through town staff and police department and do not rely on the county sheriff's office in doing so like many other towns and villages currently do. The town provides public transportation through a contract with the MTU. The town holds annual events such as the Fireman's Pancake Breakfast, the library's book sale, and the beautification committee's plant exchange. The town has a history of being fiscally responsible and maintaining a reasonable mill rate. The entire town would be incorporated, thus securing that tax base. Meanwhile, the mill rate for the city of La Crosse remains the highest in La Crosse County. The residents of the town would be offered no additional services that the city currently can provide. In fact, the city's adopted 2026 budget cuts services to residents, including the closing of a library and a community pool. Incorporation would secure the town's borders and ensure that property taxes remain reasonable for residents. The city may argue that they have no room to grow and need that town tax base. Why should the town residents pay higher property taxes? Because the city has not been as fiscally responsible as the town. In closing, I encourage the Incorporation Review Board members to support the incorporation of the proposed village of French Island. The community deserves to be recognized for their independence. Thank you for your consideration.
Gregory Parks, then Diana Parks, then Bob Wolfert, then Julie Rockwell. So Gregory Parks.
They left. They
They
are.
left, okay. So Gregory Parks and Diana Parks is gone as well. Bob Wolfert. Bob Wolfert.
Yep, you know what, I appreciate it. I'm gonna on the board as well.
Thanks everybody for coming on, elected official. My neighbor, Mike Abraham, actually requested my spot. Rob, sorry. I was to show you a whole day. So if that's okay with the IRB.
I'm in the list there.
He's in the list.
I'm trying to bump him all.
Is it okay if I let him go? I think you gotta get going. He's got enough. Rob Abraham. Oh, wait, how far down on the list is he? I moved that up for him. No, I'm good up there. Woo. That's all right. Yeah, if you got him on that, as long as it's done. So good evening, my name is Mike Warren. Thank you for the time that you're putting here tonight. I've met many of the residents here through my time on the La Crosse School Board as a La Crosse County Supervisor representing part of French Island, or through my 30 years serving the city of La Crosse, including a decade as Assistant Chief of Police and Interim Chief of Police. I didn't just work for the city, I lived it. I sat through countless council meetings, budget hearings, and leadership discussions. I know city operations inside and out, better than the attorney they hired. But I also know the town of Campbell from my heart. In 2007, I moved out of the city of Crosse, and my family and I chose to go home and live here in the town because of the quality of life, the strong sense of community, and the freedom to shape our own neighborhood's futures. Campbell is a community of fiercely independent people who take pride in the place we chose to live. Looking beyond the issues like taxes and services, we're also talking about the fundamental right to choose where we live without being forced into annexation by a city that poisoned our drinking water and now calls annexation the solution. Essentially, we're being told, we poisoned your wells, so now we'll just take you over. This is about freedom to choose our own future rather than being absorbed by a city that doesn't see us for who we are. We love the town of Campbell because it is a place where we choose to stay, build strong neighborhood bonds, and create a village that truly prospers in its own terms. We are a community that chose this town because of the strong and respected police, fire, and public works department. Once again, I was the city of La Crosse Assistant Police Chief for 10 years. I served there for 30 years. My father served La Crosse Police Department 30 years before me. The Campbell Police Department is a highly respected police agency. We are capable as a town to become a village. We are stable and we are united. Based on my experience, I can assure you, if the city of La Crosse annexes the town of Campbell, it will not benefit our residents in any way. That is 60 years of city service. I love my job at the city and I appreciate everything that they've done for me,
but I can tell you there's a reason why I live in the town of Campbell. So I stand here tonight to say clearly, the only path that protects our community, the independence of its residents, and our future is to become a village. I ask that you let us keep our destiny in our own hands and move forward as the village we deserve to be.
Julie Rockwell. Rodney Rockwell, Paul Urbanick, Jason Straitman.
I was the last name.
So Jason, okay?
Thank you, IRB, for coming all the way out here from all across the state, it sounds like, and for giving us your time. Thank you to all the residents for obviously showing your support. I'll be honest, I was just gonna kind of shoot from the hip when I came up here speaking as a resident. However, there were some other presentations that had me furiously taking some notes that I'm gonna try to read from on here. And I'll be honest, a lot of this is based off from the intervenors presentation that as a board member for the last 5.5 years, as a Summit PTO treasurer for the last year, as a planning and zoning commission member in the town of Campbell. A lot of it, I believe, in my opinion, is misleading at best or just plain false at worst. We talk about social activities of our community is we have 14 parks that they talked about on there. I mean, it's 20 some acres of park area. We partner with the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts. We have partnerships with EGC for sports activities. We have library activities, which is a La Crosse County library. I think there was one word in there that was left out in the presentation. Fund balances as a town board member, they say we run at a deficit. Again, that's a little misleading. We have a water issue. We have a water issue because our source of water was contaminated on city of La Crosse property, and we have to solve it. A lot of those funds, boards before us, were forefront in saving money, being fiscally responsible, to give the support to our residents that we need, that we were able to start fixing those problems now. Most of those dollars will be reimbursed through grants and all of the different funding resources that as a board we've been working on for 5 years. Water costs, again, it is unfortunate that our source of water supply was contaminated and there will be a cost to residents for water costs. They may be high up front because we are building the system up from scratch, like Mike Davey said. However, being the third lowest in property taxes, I believe more than offsets that for our residents from a cost perspective for the services provided. Moving to the top taxed bracket in La Crosse County, I don't think helps that or helps the residents. So the comments from the interveners do make it very clear they are overextended financially. They are here today to do anything they can to not lose what they see as a much needed revenue source. But our community, our town, our village does not need to bear their burden because we have all the support that we need. As a resident, my then girlfriend and I bought our first home here in 2008. We quickly outgrew it as we now have 3 children. I love the support and the services that the town of Campbell provides at the cost that it provides. So much so that we bought a lot 2 parcels north and built our forever home here. Like, we want to be in the town of Campbell. We want to protect our community, and the only way to do that is through incorporation. We're not just a neighborhood, as was stated previously, of the city of La Crosse. We are not a slice of the pie. French Island is the pie. And we want to keep it that way. My kids don't pay taxes. My kids don't vote. They still say they are from French Island. So that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Julie Rockwell, Rodney Rockwell, Paul Urbanick, Bob Wolfert.
Oh, you're back. Have me back, huh? All
And
right.
then Ralph Doran.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, IRB board. And once again, thanks everybody for coming out. I'm on the town board and living proof that anybody can get put in the position. So, but the accountability, and so once you get elected, probably the greatest second fear you'll have is now you are gonna be accountable for all the stuff you gotta do. So the residents here have a high expectation and like we talked about the generational commitment to independence. So as much as I respect the city of La Crosse, I couldn't help but think of one line from I think it was Black Hawk Down, where the commander comes up and he says, pretty funny stuff, fool, right? So, I mean, they came up with some, you know, their version of why we need them. I like to think that, you know, they need us, obviously, and we've demonstrated success over all those generations. So, one of the, and I'll keep this on, because we covered a lot of the stuff already. The same expectation that we are elected under is the expectation and the commitment that the community has put in to this generational effort. And for all that Scott has done back in the day, the small decisions that we made to do our own zoning, to putting in the water system now to address the issue, we, or with this board, Lee Donahue being part of that, took to the spirit, has progressed the PFAS solutions and study across the University of La Crosse, Madison, and then legislatively in Madison as well. So, I mean, that right there shows the significance in the adaptability and the willingness of this community to provide not only for our residents, but for the state. So thank you for your time.
Well, Thorne. And then up next, Lee Donahue, John Noyes, Nate Melvany.
Oh, wow, we got a full room. I was sitting up here, I couldn't tell, but I'm glad everybody's here. Welcome to French Island. I'm glad you guys are here. Exciting day here. I've been waiting for a long time to stand up here. I'm not really good at speaking, but I'll try. And I had notes, and all of a sudden I had more notes, once we had some other speakers come up here. And I'm gonna try to hit on that some too. But first, I think I'm just gonna go off what I first was gonna say. And I was gonna tell you about our great staff that we have. I'm Ralph Thorne. I'm the Streets and Roads Supervisor. I'm on the town board. So I'm in charge of the maintenance guys. And we've got a great maintenance department. They're out every day, checking our lift stations. They're out on Christmas Day. They're out on Easter, all year long. This year, I was gonna tell you about our new chipper that we purchased, and I was gonna tell you about our chipping service that we provide to our residents. I was gonna tell you about our upgraded trucks and our equipment that we have, and that we're always providing. I was gonna tell you about our yard waste site. Our residents can come in, drop off leaves all year long, except for in the winter. And rub rubbish for their yards, sticks, things like that. I was gonna tell you about my Pierce Avenue drainage project. Anybody seen it? It's the best road in town. But instead, I thought I would tell you about how French Island found me and about how I found French Island. And I also have some stuff here. I'm just gonna let other people review it. I'm confused on some of the stuff I heard today, but I'll let other people do that. I'm just gonna tell you my story and how I ended up here. Back in '91, I took a job and I was inspecting fire systems. I was 19 years old, a long time ago. And I was checking fire systems in schools. I lived 3 hours from here in Fairmont, Minnesota. And one of my first jobs was to come over here and check out the La Crosse School District, which we've heard much about. And I got over here to La Crosse, in the La Crosse area, and I found myself driving around the town of Campbell. And I grew up fishing. I don't remember not fishing. I don't remember not having a boat. And I'm driving around this island looking for some at school, and I'm like, wow, this place is great. I love it here. And I sure wish I could live in a community like this. And I serviced the school and I went on with my day. And years went by. And in '97, I was able to get my own distributorship for fire protection. But I had to come to the La Crosse area to get it. And so we came over here and we looked at houses in La Crosse. We looked at houses in La Crescent.
in Holman, all, and then we looked at this little house on Plainview Road. It's just a little Wausau home, and my wife and I went in, and our kid was 3 months old, I think, and we had little Dakota in this thing, and we're walking in and we looked at this house. It's just like I said, it's just a simple home. And we walked back out and I said, I'm like, I think this house, the little bar in the basement, I just told you I'm 19 at the time. And actually in 97, I was old enough to drink then. And so it was exciting to me. And so I sat down, I didn't know what my wife was going to say. And she reached over to me and she says, I like this place. Well, I do too, you know, let's write an offer on it. I didn't even know what that meant. I didn't even know what writing an offer on a house meant. We're just kids. And so we wrote an offer on the house and I live there today. I was on here since. I'm not going anywhere. I raised my kids here. I'm a member of the fire department, been on it for 15 years, proudly. And I plan on being another 15 years. My kids have been here. I gotta worry now about my kids. And I'm getting questions about why we're putting in water. My kids live here and they poisoned us. So we have to fix our water. And I don't know what else we're supposed to do. And when we're all done, just say, no, what, you know, water new. And so we're gonna be there, and it's coming. The whole thing, it just upset me. At any rate, I wanna let you know that this is a great community. I'm so happy to live here. I'm proud to be on this board. I'm proud to be on this fire department. I would follow them to hell and a half. I was there, at the 22-hour fire, and I lined it up. But I just wanted to point out the fact that at that 22-hour fire, Campbell was there for 22 hours. There was no other jurisdiction there, even close. But we do thank everybody that came and helped us. I will wrap it up. Thank you.
Followed by John Noyes, then Nate Melby, and then Jane Benibos, Lee Donahue. Oh, nothing.
I always joke that the VA says my hearing is just fine. I'm Lee Donahue, 921 Plainview Road. I am a Town of Campbell supervisor for health, education, and welfare. And my husband and I bought our home here in 2004 when we were still active duty soldiers. But we knew this is where we wanted to live. We were getting ready to end a nearly 40-year combined military career. My sister-in-law was very gracious as the guardian for our child every time we deployed, which was often. And it meant that moving to the island, we would be able to stay close to family. She lives on Panther Reef, a block away from our home. Campbell is more than a town municipality. It's a family. We support each other through floods, terrible windstorms, contaminated water, but we research and we collaborate and we implement solutions. We value our low taxes, our friendly and efficient town staff, our well-staffed and very well-trained police and fire departments. There's a neighborhood cohesion here that goes beyond just waving at someone at the same time they're putting out their trash. Bob mentioned earlier that I've been deep into PFAS since October of 2020. When we got that fateful call, and Cassie said, PFAS? What's that? And I don't know. And since then, I have had to become an expert on a toxic substance that I wish no one would ever ingest or be exposed to. It has turned into a 5-year crusade to bring us safe water, because that's what everyone deserves, no matter where you live, what municipality. I don't want anyone to drink unsafe water. And that has involved a ton of collaboration at the state, the federal, the county, the university collaborations, not just for us, but to be used as a template around this state and around the nation. What we learn and what we can garner together needs to be shared with others. That's who we are. My father once accidentally activated his emergency response bracelet when we were collecting food for Summit Elementary. And the responders who lived in the neighborhood arrived immediately and they reset it. A few months ago, the first responders arrived at a home that is across the street from me. I was retrieving my mail from the box in the street. And immediately my 5-year-old neighbor said, Lee, get out of the street. They might need to pull that vehicle around. And so I quickly wandered over to his house and said, okay, Miles, it's okay, I'm safe. You know, the vehicle is there and they're doing their job. And the first thing out of Miles' mouth, and I hope he's here tonight, or at least his parents, because Miles really wants to be a police officer or a fire officer. He's still trying to decide. Is he said, you know, Lee, our first responders got there first because they know us. But the ambulance took the wrong turn and I think it's somewhere down on Spillway. In 20 years, I've been a resident here. In the 5+ years, I've been a board supervisor. I have learned that Campbell is so unique. And everyone has already talked about the services that we provide. And yes, I will say that Lieutenant Sis was the first one to respond to that potential hijacking at the airport. Our fire department, our first responders, our police department, our zoning, and yes, our water utility, which is actually more than 20 years old, is now growing to supply a safe, permanent source of water to our residents. And we provide those services at a price that residents can afford. Our taxes have been flat. And our recent budget keeps them flat. We aren't closing our parks. We aren't closing our libraries. We are maintaining all of the services that our residents are used to, that are beloved. I've spent more than 40 years as a local, county, state, and federal employee, and I've seen when government well represents their constituents and elected officials work together to benefit residents. And I'm a big collaborator. I am a member of the La Crosse MTU committee. I'm a member of the La Crosse Emergency Planning Committee. I've been a member of the Joint Municipal Court. I'm a Scout leader. I'm a Lions member. My husband was previously the Summit PTO president, and I still partner with Summit on so many issues. We've collaborated here for almost 200 years in the town of Campbell. And the Corps of Engineers who manage the dikes and the spillway dams and the landings, we collaborate with them. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Refuge, who own all of those islands, right, that are out there in the Mississippi River, and they manage those well. We work well with the DNR in the county who manage the floodplains and the flood fringe. We choose Campbell. We choose Campbell. We choose to live in this very scenic, well-managed and well-financed community. We choose independence, and we really look forward to the day when we can incorporate as the village friendship.
Noise. All right, then up next would be Nate Melby, then Jane Venables, then William Venables. So John?
Good evening, I'm John Noyes, 816 Bainbridge Street. I'm the president and owner of FJ Rovers Company. We've owned property and developed property on French Island for 75 years. So you can imagine the interactions that we've had with the town. We literally built the land, probably the land we're sitting on right now. So we went from a sand field to millions of dollars worth of heavy industrial property and interacted with Town of Campbell hundreds and hundreds of times. Always been supportive. Great people to work with. And
we support this effort. Thank you.
Nate Melby, followed by Jane Benabus, then William Benabus, and Tim Donahue.
Thank you. So I wanted to tell you about how my wife and I grew up on French Island and how her father served on the fire department with me. And how we got married on French Island and our kids are growing up on French Island and how wonderful this community is. But I think you're hearing those stories. And frankly, some of the things that I heard about our services, specifically our fire service here on French Island, were quite disturbing to me as the fire chief. I believe there's some misinformation involved in that conversation, and I just wanted to provide some information to correct that. I'm not gonna give a lesson on hydraulics tonight, because I'm pretty sure everybody's probably tired and you wouldn't want to hear all that, but I would like to share that the new water system is being built and engineered to be able to handle the needs of our community. I'm not an expert in that, but what I can tell you is, if we have a massive fire, we're gonna flow the system. But that's not the end of the water supply. We live on an island, we've got water all around us. Our fire department can use rural and urban tactics. We carry 9,000 gallons of water on wheels. We can use drop tanks, we can siphon water between drop tanks. We can get water out of a puddle to use to fight a fire. We have a fire reductor that can flow 700 gallons per minute from any water source, lake, river, wherever it is. If we can touch it, we can get water out. So we're not only limited to the capability of the water system. The water system is a force multiplier for us. It's an advantage. And the other thing, there is so much pride and passion in the people that serve this community, as you can see. And for those of us that spent 22 hours collaborating in partnership, working with other agencies as a team, as a unified, seamless team, that day of that tire fire, it was my scene. I was the incident commander. It was my responsibility in the whole rule of state as the fire chief. And I was proud of the way that everybody worked together. To be criticized afterward about our capabilities and, you know, who's better and, you know, all that stuff. I mean, I want to be respectful, but it's really disturbing. And I'll offer one more comment. In the 28 years that I've been a firefighter, visiting fire stations across the state of Wisconsin and actually across the nation, I have never seen a boom truck. It's a ladder truck.
Jane Benabus, William Benabus. Jane?
Yep.
I can compliment you. You said Benabus very well.
Oh, that's a fun name to say.
It is. I have a story on that. Fine. My husband and I have been old residents of the town of Campbell, French Island, since 1981. If we raised or are helping raise now this fourth generation of Benabus who call town of Campbell, French Island home. We have lived here 45 of our 52 years of village. That's a long time to be happy in a community. And we're happy. We wouldn't live any other place. Our kids and grandkids went to Summit. The whole family belongs to Olivet, who are all French Island community people. This is home. We've experienced the talents of the first responders many times. Thank you. When our grown children who don't live in the city are asked, "Where are you from?" they answer, "French Island." This is home. We all want the best for this community, for this place we call home. Thank you to the board for supporting all the services we could ever need, for leading us in this journey, coming ability. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Benedus, followed by Tim Donahue, then Jeff Foley.
Thank you for listening to me this evening. I'll be short and brief. I could be long. I have to address the derogatory remarks about the fire department on French Island. The first responders on French Island. And the derogatory remarks about our police department. I was a fireman for damn near 40 years or 35 years. And some of that time was volunteer fireman. The rest was as an employee of the city of Crosse, which I was very proud of. And served faithfully to that department. But I'm here to tell you, this fire department we have on French Island is second to none. As I stated, I was a professional fireman for about 30 years. I was also a volunteer fireman for about 5 years. When I came to the Crosse and started working on the fire department, I saw some of the firemen that accepted it, that were there because it was a job. You got paid for it. Being a volunteer fireman for 5 years, I know what volunteers are. They're there because, one, they want to serve you. Number two, because they love their job. And they don't have to be there to put beans on the table. They're there because they love it and want to serve you. The police department. I'll tell you what, they got 24-hour service, 24/7. That's great. And they have some of the best response times. The first responders, I take my hat off for the first responders. They have responded for me multiple times and made it possible for me to get transported to the hospital. And so the first responders are again second to none, and they are there also because they want to be. They want to serve you. They want to help you. Are you going to go into a big city and get people that are wanting to help you? Or because they're getting a paycheck to put beans on the table?
Thank you, sir. Your time is up.
Thank you. Thank you for being here and showing your support.
All right, Tim Donahue, followed by Jeff Foley, followed by Tim Larson. So Tim Donahue, go ahead.
Thank you. Tim Donahue, 921 Plainview Road. I have two roles here tonight, scout leader and resident. I'm the assistant scoutmaster of French Island Troop 15 of Scouting America, past president of the Gateway Area Council and current chair of Council Service Territory 4, covering Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, North and South Dakota, and Montana. I know how important scouting is in a small community like ours. When sandbags need to be filled, scouts are there. When the State Department of Health issued a do not drink water advisory Scouts help distribute 5 semi-truck loads of bottled water to residents as an interim solution. French Island Troop 15 has a nearly 100-year-old commitment to the town of Campbell. Everywhere you look, you see Scout service projects and community engagements. Our Scouts support our beloved library with an annual window washing and cobweb removal. Scouts collect more than 1,000 pounds of food from Campbell residents every year to benefit Summit's families in need. Eagle projects abound, from the observation deck at Nelson Park to the spillway steps at the end of Plainview Road. With flag poles, dog pit, outdoor classroom, weather station, fog education center, and raised beds at Summit Elementary. The Allison Renee and Bella Dog Park, memorializing a young victim and her dog of domestic violence. Benches and trees in our year-round open parks, all completed by Teen Scouts from French Island Troops 15 and 515. Our Scouts are deeply committed to serve our community. We are developing tomorrow's leaders to be informed and engaged, become elected officials, community pillars right here in the town of Campbell, where we have been an independent municipality for 175 years in the little place we love to call our home, French Island. As Tim Donahue family member, I ask you to support Incorporation as a village to sustain our local services, maintain our affordable tax rate, and seal our borders from annexation. In the 20 years we have lived on Campbell, our family has needed the Campbell first responders and police department upon occasion. They responded in less than 5 minutes. Their professionalism, expertise, and compassion are unequaled. We value their devotion to duty and their commitment to know our residents and provide unparalleled services. Our residents deserve to live in an independent village. Thank you.
So Jeff Whitney, followed by Tim Larson, followed by Margaret Larson, then Walter Fulari. Jeff will lead.
Make it short or sweet. My name is Jeff Falvey. I live at 1503 Caroline Street, the town of Campbell. I can remember a time when I went to a city council meeting and there was a lot of people there and I filled out a paper to speak. I could not speak, they wouldn't let us speak. And when I go to the town of Campbell board meetings, I don't even have to fill out a paper to speak. They allow me to speak. There's only been one time that I was escorted out of the town hall because I didn't know to shut my mouth. With that being said, in 1997, I started playing Santa Claus in the town of Campbell. The board at that time was in favor of me to do that. And with one of the police chiefs that we had, Police Gavralis, even if he's not here, I suppose he'd like to hear me say that I received a reward by the Campbell Police Department and the town board for playing Santa Claus. I have reached out to all the surrounding areas of kids to come and see Santa Claus and receive a gift and go home with it and is happy. And I encourage any of the businesses in the town of Campbell, if you are interested, my name is out there, my phone number is out there, and I will do it. I will come and see you, I'll pick up a gift, and I'll give it to a child, whether they need it or not. And I put a lot of smiles on faces, let me tell you. Thank you.
Tim Larson, 1925 Homeless Avenue. I'm a resident of the town. I served on 2 terms on the zoning board of review. And I was the pro bono architect when the library was designed by the community 13 years ago. I support the town's incorporation as a village. I trust the town to do a great job in providing for the health, safety, and welfare of its residents. Recent significant events at the Omaha Tire Fire, the Norwood Inn, and the water utility shows how the fire department, police department, and town board handle immediate crises, persistent, dangerous criminal behavior, and damage to our water source. In particular, I'd like to recognize the board for its leadership in our water emergency. When faced with 4,300 residents with no safe drinking water, they worked to understand the problem and create a long-term solution. Wasn't easy and often confusing, but the results would be safe water for all. By contrast, the city of La Crosse, if they were truly interested in their neighbors' health, safety, and welfare, they would have acted differently during the last 5 years. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Margaret Larson, followed by Walter Tulare, then Mary Jo Werner. Ms. Larson?
Yes, Margaret Larson. I'm a resident of the town. I've represented the town as a La Crosse County Supervisor since 2016. I support incorporation. And I'm here to tell you why, because the things I'm thankful for. First of all, we've got a crackerjack set of employees and volunteers that make this town run and shine. Fire department, I believe Chief Melby forgot to mention, though having that class 3 rating, ISO rating, he brought it up from a 7 to a 3. As to our police department, Tricia did a great job describing what's going on there, but she didn't mention is that she keeps a tight budget, but still is able to grow the force. And I'm looking forward to 6 officers. Is, that budget is improving the safety for the public and for the officer. Campbell has a responsive government. Ever since 2020, when we learned that the city's wells on French Island were contaminated by PFAS, the town board carefully researched and evaluated ways to deliver safe drinking water to all residents and businesses. Because La Crosse County Board recognized that the PFAS contamination of our private wells was a public health issue, with a unanimous vote, the county board allocated $600,000 to the town in order to explore potential solutions. And I can tell you, we had all confidence in them using it wisely. And I think that the 2 things that were funded in particular, one was to drill the test well to see if the water in the lower aquifer was free of PFAS. It is. The upper aquifer that the city and the town currently are drilled into for their water is not PFAS free. Also, the money from the county funded a study to determine the direction and speed of PFAS plumes spreading in our groundwater. And we needed that for future planning. You've heard about stormwater management and road improvement, boat launches and neighborhood parks. In addition to the water crisis. But one of the things that town board members get to do is respond to potential home buyers' questions about what are the advantages of living
on French Island. I've heard Lee say, well, we've got Summit Elementary, which is known as an environmental school. And the F.J. Rover's Library is one location in the county system of libraries. The others are City of Onalaska, the Village of Holman, the Village of West Salem, and the Village of Banbury. So we would join them as villages. I do want to mention that my husband and I live on Hiawatha Islands. And we do know that the checkerboard properties. Several of us have been in the town, of the properties have been in, okay. But the access to Hiawatha Islands is off Clinton Street. And that is not a city street, it's a county road. I do want to, just one more thing, okay. We've been depending on PFAS-free bottled water personal use for 5 years now. And we'll be doing that until we have the water distribution system. I've heard some comments from residents about inconvenience, but no complaints. Just thanks for the water that's provided by DHS and for our burgeoning water system that will deliver safe drinking water to all. I believe that speaks loudly about the people living here, and I'm thankful for that spirit. Yes.
Walter, followed by Mary Jo Werner, followed by Thomas Regan.
Walter Tulare, 35-year resident of French Island. I had a prepared statement. I'm not gonna read it because you've all heard it before. I'm addressing you folks. The gentleman sitting right there next to Ms. Dickinson started spouting off a bunch of stuff about Rule 2B and 1A. There's such a thing as following the letter of the law, and there's such a thing as following the spirit of the law. We're islanders, right?
Yeah.
We're islanders. We deserve this. We don't deserve what they're offering us. So please, when you do your deliberations, let it advance to the referendum vote, please. And that's all I'm gonna say.
Mary Jo Werner, followed by Thomas Regan, then Chris McCardle-Royce.
Thank you for making the trip over to the town of Campbell. I appreciate it, and so do the rest of us. My name is Mary Jo Werner, and I'm a 23-year resident of the town of Campbell. My husband and I decided to move here after getting married. He was a City of La Crosse resident, and I was a Village of West Salem resident, and we decided to move to Campbell. And it was a great investment. One of the things that's been mentioned multiple times is the sense of community with the town of Campbell. The people here are very friendly. If somebody has an issue, everybody pitches in. You know, when there was a water issue, we didn't whine and snivel. We were proactive. Our board was very proactive in making sure that we were all informed. There were public meetings. What was going to happen next? Mike Beatty spent hours and hours with many of us saying, okay, what does this mean really? And when he says he's got 60 years in, it's really, if you counted normal hours, it's probably 120 years of engineering. One of the other things that we do here with regard to the mayor, we thank you for getting married here at celebrations. And I'm hoping you didn't think, well, geez, I might not want to get married here because it's in French Island. I'm sure you were just as gracious coming here, whether it was French Island or the City of La Crosse. One of the things I learned from you when you were running for mayor, I'm a member of the La Crosse Kiwanis, is you said when you were running that you were going to make it a priority that you would work with your neighbors, whether it was French Island, Village of Holman, City of Onalaska. You were very much talking about partnering with others. And I was so thrilled to hear that Because I believe what you're saying is we're a community, it's a larger community. Even though the attorney said, well, we don't have medical facilities here, we do support them through our nurses, our medical staff. A lot of individuals work here. We're very committed to the whole community. With regard to the thing with, you said we're not homogeneous. The city of La Crosse actually is not homogeneous. The town of Shelby Crosse is right in the center of La Crosse. La Crosse actually intersects in multiple other places, whether it's Maderi, whether it's different other places around. So you're saying that we don't meet number one is a little disingenuous. With regard to the things with regard to the financial part, what benefits we have here is we have a library that is very strong and very much supported. We all voted to have a purchase of a building so we could put a library there. La Crosse is in the process of closing its second library. Parks, we've had 2 parks closed in the city of La Crosse. The parks are not closing here in the town of Campbell. We're very much supportive. If there's an issue that goes on, we're proactive. We are not reactive in it. We're very proactive. We're very united. We're a family here. We take care of each other. And I appreciate so much your coming here. And I hope you vote in support of the incorporation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thomas Megan, followed by Chris McCardle-Royce, then Brock Harney.
So thanks for coming here. My attention goes to the people that are gonna be voting on this thing here. I'm not a native of La Crosse. we've only lived here about 6 years. I've lived in a lot of different places. I lived in a little 1-bedroom cabin in the woods, high on the bluff above the riverboat down at Marquette for about 15 years. When we retired, my wife said, this is enough living in the woods. I want to move to La Crosse. She was a native of La Crosse. I said, well, if you can find something in La Crosse that's as good as this little 1-bedroom cabin in the woods, it was my idea, perfect. I thought I was in pretty good shape, so I'll never find it. Took her about a week. And now we live at 1905 Nokomis, here on French Island, and love it. Lived in a lot of places in my life. Nothing compares to this. This is a great place to live. I think these people got every right to be incorporated into a village as they want to stand. We'd appreciate your support in this. It's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Chris McCardle-Royce, followed by Brock Harney, then Joe Whitecap. So, Chris.
Thank you. Chris McCardle will vote 820 Lori Place here in French Island. Although I have been a resident here for over 22 years, I have also served during that time as the director of the La Crosse County Library. So I just want to take a few moments tonight to give you a little deep history of our services. They're located in Bangor, Pullman, Onalaska, West Salem, and of course here in Campbell. They are supported by the residents of La Crosse County who live outside the city limits of La Crosse. In 1904, the city of La Crosse decided to exempt themselves from the county tax and operate independently. However, this strong-rooted partnership of the county locations continues to this day. In 1975, space in the town hall was dedicated for a permanent library collection, and Campbell became an official branch of the La Crosse County Library. In 2013, local officials and residents made possible the move to our current building on the corner of Lakeshore and Fairleigh, with great thanks to the F.J. Rovers family and this community. Much of the furnishings were made possible from donations and fundraising in a grand community effort. In fact, it was our own fire department, to bring them up one more time tonight, that moved all of the books and shelving from Bainbridge to fan reading. They saved the residents of this community thousands of dollars in those related costs. Our own daily work would not be possible without the direct support of the town staff. I am fortunate to work closely with the 5 municipalities where our county services are located, and Campbell tops the list as truly wonderful partners. From elected officials to administrative staff headed by Michelle Stahl, we find communication easy and support immense. The town public works department headed by Jason Hilton is incredible. They understand that we serve the public directly and make every effort to meet all of their needs and to help in our mission. As a town resident, I would also like to add my personal kudos to the work that they do every day. Although our library parking lot may not be packed daily, a steady flow of town residents visit. Over 10,000 items are housed at this particular location. Visitors also have access to the collections, as was pointed out by the city, to all of the libraries in the entire state, and in particular the Southern County region in Winding Rivers. We also have access to state resources through a delivery network, moving items in and out of this location and every one of our others 4 days a week. We are currently now on track to have 2025 be a record year for use since the pandemic. Almost 16,000 items have already checked out from this particular location alone, including checkouts from City of La Crosse residents who have found their way in our direction, just as our residents find their way into their buildings. Libraries see a direct correlation with increases in use as discretionary spending decreases and personal expenses rise. We have also experienced a significant shift in the impact of technology. Although there is no doubt that the use of digital resources remains strong, young parents and educators are now moving away from so much reliance on technology and are limiting screen time. This has created significant increases in participation in programming, like our 1,000 books before kindergarten, with our maker spaces, and with such resources. Thank you. Our 2026 budget remains stable and well supported by our county funding authorities and out county residents, and in addition to the continued financial support of our municipalities. If nothing speaks to protecting our current border structure, the impending changes in city library services speaks volumes, as they will be closing their North Community location in the new year due to funding shortages. We are hopeful that we can help those residents continue their services. In closing, I speak merely as a collaborative partner to the town as well as an engaged resident. With both hats I wear, it is clear things are already being done right independently. Thank you.
Brock, followed by Joe Whitekamp, followed by David Burgett, followed by Ann Bolin. So Brock, go ahead.
Hi there, Brock Harney, 512 Callaway Boulevard. Lived on French Island in Town of Campbell here for the last 12 years. We recently bought a plot. We want to build there someday, let's see if it works. And be here, the rest of the way. It's that kind of community. As the presentation's going on, I was kind of taking some notes, and when I heard the city's presentation, I started getting pretty negative, and I thought, we're not really characterized by what other people say about us. We're an independent, solution-oriented community. We've had a lot of challenges with the water situation. Couldn't be more proud of the people's leadership of this town. And regular community members stepping up and doing the work. This is a model for effective local governance. We are doing the job and serving the community in a way that far surpasses what most villages are able to do. We provide services at an extremely high level. We have fantastic community support. And I guess that's where I'd like to kind of keep the focus here is just that we're doing the job. The community's proud of it. There's a lot of support here. We're very proud of you leading us, and I think if you give us the opportunity to incorporate and be a village, we're going to continue to make you proud here in Campbell. Thanks.
And then I'll be followed by David Burgett, then Ann Boland, and then Dennis Boland.
Hello, I'm Joe Whitticamp, and I live at 2603 Thomas with my wife Kathy. We've been there 41 years. I serve on the zoning commission. We take a look at the future needs and what have you for the town of Campbell. We started this over 15, maybe even 20 years ago when Helen Vitale and some other people began. I've been on for 10 or 12 years. What you'll find in the town of Campbell is once people begin to serve, they serve forever and to banking multiple times. We believe in the community. We live the community. We are the community. Couple things that I'd like to address. The people from the city of Crosse talk about our water system. They have no plan for us. I've got contaminated water, been feeding it to my kids for a long time. Our kids are 38 to 40, who knows what they've got. But they have no plan. Now, at some point, if they were to put in a water system for us, they'd have to tear up all the city streets. And believe me, they cannot provide the services, watching what they do in their own city, as our people can provide for us. The same thing is going to have to happen, and there will be future assessments. It's just a question of how will it get done efficiently. I had the opportunity to talk to one of the supervisors, or whatever they call them in the city. And the final comment that was made to me was, just give us the Nokomis and we'll walk away. I don't give up anything. We don't vote people off the island. We keep people on the island because we are a family. That's what we would be destined for. I think one final classic, I haven't gotten a good answer yet, but right over here on Sky Harbor, there's bags over all of the fire hydrants that are provided by the city of La Crosse. Why are there bags over the fire hydrants? So that they can talk to these people and say, well, you don't even have your own fire hydrants. You can't fight a fire. I have no idea. I haven't gotten a good answer. When I talked to one of the council members, they said, oh, well, we could turn that back on in 7 seconds. That requires somebody manually doing something. And once again, I say, these are the people that are our solution. I vote not.
Well, thank you, Ann Boland. Ann Boland, followed by Dennis Boland, followed by Robert Abraham, then Mike Hicks. You're not Ann.
No, I'm not. And I am not speaking for her. I wouldn't dare. Smart guy. Hi, I'm a newbie here. We've lived in, had a house in, Town of Campbell for 15 years, so I'm relatively new here. I better change a little bit of what I'm gonna speak about just because of what was said earlier. And a lot of it has been said by people who could say it's much better than me. I grew up in town of Shelby. First 20 years of my life, then moved to Madison in a little town called Monona, which is a Class A city. It's no larger than Town of Campbell. It had a volunteer fire department, it had a volunteer police department. It only had 3 policemen when we moved in the 80s. And the fire department was all volunteer. So those things that were mentioned before, I'm not sure that that's quite as relevant as it might seem. It was a wonderful place. We knew the mayor. We knew the the city council. I live 5 houses from our administrator. If I have a question, I can walk to his house and ask him, and I'm sure they'll say something, one way or the other. So I have a lot of respect. I know people on the fire department. I know people on the police department. I know my neighbors. We all help out. We all shovel each other's driveways and things like that. Couple things from the representative of the city of Crosse. He talked about shopping. When I go shopping, I go up here on the interstate and go down Alaska. I don't go to the Crosse. I don't shop in the Crosse. We talked about the water situation. I won't even get into who's responsible, but I would say if the city of La Crosse is going to provide water, they're gonna have to dig up our streets the same as the city will here. They're still gonna have to dig up and put pipes to our houses. I have a well. Most of the people in my neighborhood have wells. We don't have piped water to our houses. The school district, the city of Monona had a combined school district with Cottage Grove, which is 10 miles away. So school districts don't go by city boundaries. My wife taught in Sun Prairie, she'll tell you that. Also, finally, we have a nice library. It was mentioned earlier. It really is a nice library and very small, but I can get anything I want. Right here. Madison just closed its second one. We used to use the South Side Library in Madison, or in here, and that's closed. Finally, our parks are very nice parks. They don't have fences around them. And I just say one final thing. The police response is, I have had one opportunity to call the police. They were there in 5 minutes. And you can't beat that, really. So I enjoy living here, and we moved here because we wanted to live here. Thank you.
King Boland, followed by Robert Abraham, followed by Mike Pitch. And then Daryl with a really long last name that I can't figure out. So he lives at 445 Central Road. So Ann Boland, did you want to speak? Okay. Robert Abraham?
He already spoke.
He already spoke. Mike Pitch. Thank you. And then Daryl from 445 Central Road, followed by Joseph Beeson. Mr. Hitch.
Thank you. My name is Mike Kish. I grew up in Alaska and have been a resident of West Salem for the past 28 years. But I had the privilege of representing this area in the legislature, including the town of Campbell in the late 1990s and 2000s, until redistricting moved the town out of my district. While in the legislature, I authored 2003 Assembly Bill 85, a bill that would have incorporated the town of Campbell. You wouldn't have to bid here. And it's interesting, you know, that we hear a little bit of the history of this incorporation process from the representative from La Crosse, but I think maybe they left out a couple of things. One is in 1996, 60% of the Campbell residents voted to be incorporated. 1986, 30 years ago, they wanted that. And that prompted by September of 1999, the town approving unanimously a negotiated land and water agreement, negotiated by Yankee Bank, which just will not go away. But and so it was approved in September of 1999 by the town unanimously. The next month, the city of La Crosse rejected that agreement. Presumably because by that time, the city of La Crosse had put in their comprehensive plan that the entire town of Campbell should eventually be annexed by the city. And the mayor at that time told the La Crosse Tribune, the town of Campbell, town of Madera, and town of Shelby should cease to exist and become part of the city of La Crosse. So subsequently, I received over 1,800 signatures from town residents wanting to become a village. That was nearly 25 years ago. Assembly Bill 85 passed both houses, but was vetoed by Governor Jim Doyle. Therefore, I'm here today to support the town of Campbell in this incorporation hearing. Thank you for coming to Glasgow. The government is best when it is nearest to the people, and the best form of government we have in Wisconsin is the town. The people who reside in the town have more influence over the direction their community will follow than any other place. People live in the town for a variety of reasons, but for many, it's simply because they don't want to live in a city. Towns have less bureaucracy and limited services compared to large cities, but they all provide what the residents seek. Towns are generally smaller and more tight knit, and Campbell is no exception. Town should be everything it can be to its people. But what it should not be is a land bank for a neighboring city to make a withdrawal whenever they need it, or they think they might need it in the future. And while it should not be a financial burden to neighboring communities that provide additional services, they should also not be held captive by cities or extorted for exorbitant conditions or fees. Again, it was interesting to hear the Crosse representative discuss the fiscal stability of the town of Campbell tonight. And in fact, they just announced maybe a month ago that they have $2 billion or $2 million budget shortfall and are closing down services. The people of Campbell and its leaders have proven more than capable of facing difficult challenges, providing for their own needs, and determining their own destiny. If that is going to continue, Campbell must incorporate. It is time, actually, I would say it's long past time for these expensive border wars to end, and the people of the town of Campbell to be able to protect their heritage and decide their own future. Thanks for coming tonight. Have a safe trip home.
Daryl from 445 Central Road. Daryl. All right, Joseph Beeson, Bison, Joseph. Mike Abraham, I know you're here. Followed by Sally Minor.
Thank you very much, board. I thank everybody for being here. Oh, a lot of empty seats there. I just want to make a couple of comments. The gentleman representing the city, tough, all those figures and all the things. The old adage probably might apply here, with all due respect. Figures lie and liars figure. It just, it just seems so, I don't understand it. But it's always one sided, it seems like, because he's got more backing, more money, more whatever, and our little town with a few people there, it just seems like we're the Goliath fighting Goliath. There was another comment I was gonna make, Dan, if I can remember now. Now, they're talking about all looking for financing to get rid of the PFAS and put a new water system in. Well, I think, with all due respect, the mayor from Crosse, we could probably hold him as ransom when we got him here. But we just don't make him write an IOU to the town of Campbell. We'll let it go at that. Anyway, thank you much for listening to me. I'm not that senile as they seem. But anyway, hope you folks will give us a break. Because our taxes are real nice right now. If I was in the city of Crosse, my taxes would be $2,000 to $3,000 higher. And I'm on fixed income. And by the way, the police department here has only, they said 6 officers. They get more than that. My son is a retired policeman. I'm a retired policeman. I was on the city of Crosse for, I probably would have, my son. So they got a lot more backup than they know.
All right, Sally Minor. Terry Larson. So Terry Larson, followed by Stephen Dufresne, and then Alan Macca.
So first of all, I'm considering myself definitely minded. I bought a property in, I think what they call it, the industrial side of Lyman. And yes, I live on the industrial side, I live south of the Clinton Street. I don't call it a bridge, I call it a dam. So when I bought that property many years ago, I fought to keep the bridge because I could see what was going to happen. And then I fought to have a larger culvert, which took me years to get that done. And we got a larger culvert. So I fought basically for the environmental issues on the island. And water quality was a key one. and I got caught up in. My background is, I worked for many years for the Elko Chemical Company, the largest water treatment chemical company in the world. And they sent me all over the world after I left here, and I kept calling my boss, when can I come back to Chicago? And he kept saying, don't worry. Anyway, I did finally come back here. But I worked with the World Water Coalition, I worked with a lot of different places. What I found out was kind of disastrous, because my mother, property that I bought there, I moved my parents into. And she called me and said, I've got garbage laying in my lawn, and I went down to the power plant. And I tried to have something done about it. And I picked it up, and there were fingers in there with medical bills and a bunch of other stuff. Now, the power plant wasn't supposed to burn medical garbage, such as waste. My mother went down there with cookies and that, you know, told me that we get more flies with honey than the world of salt. But they shoot her away, and she was German. And so she called me up. She said, you work for Elko. We're involved with the product development area. You've got 400 chemists there that are all PhDs. What can you do about this? So we came and we put some air panels up. And we collected some of the fly ash from the plant. And we took a look at basically what they were burning in the plant. So I was shocked. We have one of the most sophisticated labs in the world. An Elko Chemical Company in Chicago, actually neighborhood. So I kind of got in the middle of this. I had my mother tell me what to do. And I had always been on the other side of the spectrum where I had zone 4, which was the EPA area. I was calling me if a drum wound up in a landfill and wanted to know what it was. So I came up here and got involved. And I found out that they were burning creosote, penta, and copper arsenate ties in their boilers. So I tried to explore that a little bit, and I found out that, yes, what we're talking about there is we're talking about copper arsenate. Now, why would copper arsenate be in the railroad yard? During World War II, we ran short on creosote. Simply because we were using it to build wharves over in England with the Great Invasion. So we have a lot of copper arsenate. They did away with copper arsenate a long time ago. Those are the old railroad ties. And I'll tell you why later on why I'm concerned about this.
Mr. Larson, your time.
All right, you've got 3 of the top carcinogenic materials being burned in the plant up on French Island. You can smell it. If any of you can remember, before we put stats on that plant, which was a battle I had with, in fact, if you really want the background on it, talk to the attorney who's handling our PFAS case. He worked for Melissa Scanlon, who shut the plant down until they put stats on it. I'm just saying, I'm not against what we're doing here on the island. I would love to see our own water supply system. But let's address it from both points. We have a gentleman right over here who's faced with some of the biggest challenges for Crosse to keep basically business there and keep things going. We have a university where basically, I worked in the early stages of our AI, what was called fuzzy logic. I'm telling you right now, they're closing universities down. One of my best friends is the largest book dealer on the East Coast. He buys whole universities and also he buys libraries, their shelves and everything. It's out there. So I'm just saying we need to look at both ends of this spectrum. If, for example, I know people in La Crescent are paying a high level for the water that they're getting from La Crosse. How much is that? What is it gonna cost us to replace? Just a minute, and I'll be done, and then I'm off here. I'm not against or for. I'm just saying, let's work together on this, because one of the things La Crosse is facing, I have property there too, and I can tell you, I woke up one day and I saw my car was gone because the whole streets turned into rivers. So we have problems with the sewer system there, we have problems with university, and if you haven't been reading the papers, they just declared nursing a non-professional occupation. Therefore, the students in Richard will only get half of what they could get for funding. And because they only get half of what they're funding, and because they just laid off 6,000 nurses in Austin, Minnesota, which is part of the Mayo Institute, they're burning out. Nurses aren't wanting to go into the field anymore. What will this do to Viterbo? If we lose Viterbo, we lose part of the university because they're not able to continue to keep students safe. And then we have basically a fire there, close to where we're gonna put the pump. Not further than 20, I would say maybe, I'd say the football field away. I got a pad underneath that. Okay, so I'm just saying, you get five.
All right, Stephen Guthrie, Alan Mecca, Scott Gardner.
My name is Steve Elford, and I want to take this opportunity to thank everybody who showed up tonight and thank all the members of the town. Thank the members of the board who are here to listen to us tonight. I've lived here for about 50 years, and my wife Julie and I chose to build our life and raise our family here because there's a strong sense of community, reliable public services, and responsible local governance that define French Island. From the moment we moved into our home on French Island, we were welcomed not simply as residents, but as neighbors and as family. Still remember Sue Lois and Lori Black immediately looking after us, even to the extent that when I was away, my wife went into labor and needed to ride to the hospital. Sue Black was there to give her a ride. When our kids missed the school bus, there was Sue, take them to school. And that spirit of care extends throughout the entire community, whether it's just my own experience or somebody else's. I need my tree trimmed. My neighbor Bill comes from 2 houses down and he helps me out with that. My neighbor Bob stopped by because he just saw we were having a graduation party for our son and he wanted to say hi. None of this is an isolated story. It's the culture of the island, it's the culture of the place, and it defines our community. Wanted to mention the outstanding police department. We are fortunate to live in a place with a low crime rate. I have also not had very many occasions to call the police department, but when I've needed them, they're there and they're fast, they're professional, and they're personal. I know my police officer when he shows up or she shows up, they know me. That relationship builds trust, safety, and accountability. I have a whole spiel here about the fire department, and I think I'll probably leave it out, but I said, suffice it to say they're top notch. And beyond all these emergency services, the town functions, delivers high quality municipal services. My street is always plowed and able to be used in the summer. Winter is plowed. Parks are numerous, they're clean and well maintained. Our boat launches are functional and accessible. And I saw the owner of Island Outdoors over here, and that reminded me, I've got my boat docked over at River Rats. I've got bait I can buy over at Island Outdoors, and I can engage in that. In fishing anytime I want right here in town. The town hall is responsive, knowledgeable, and the town hall workers are responsive, knowledgeable, and accessible. Most importantly, these services are provided with exceptional fiscal efficiency. So I took a look because about a block and a half over from me, there's a house really similar to mine that annexed into the city of Crosse. And when you compare the two mill rates, that house pays approximately 180% the tax bill that I pay at my house. And I don't think they get any services that I don't get. So this demonstrates a couple of critical facts. Number one, our local government is financially responsible and well managed. And French Island already functions as a cohesive, self-sustaining community. We're not seeking the corporation to chase growth or expansion. We're seeking the corporation to preserve what already works. Our identity, our services, our public safety, our fiscal responsibility, and our community values. The corporation as the village of French Island will allow us to protect local decision-making, maintain service quality and response times, preserve fiscal accountability, and ensure that growth, if it occurs, is shaped by the people who live here, not imposed from the outside. We believe that we meet the spirit and the letter of Wisconsin's incorporation standards. We're a distinct, permanent community, with proven governmental capacity, a stable tax base, established public services, and a strong civic identity. Most importantly, we believe in the fundamental Wisconsin principle of local self-determination. So we ask the board respectfully to approve our application and allow the citizens of French Island to vote on their future. Let the people who built this community decide how it should be governed. Thanks for your time.
All right, Alan Yakov, followed by Scott Gardner, followed by Eric Engelholt.
Good evening. My name is Al Maha, and I think we've heard just about what you can expect of a great community like this. What? Okay. There. Close it up. Thanks for being here. I'm not gonna belabor you with a lot of points. You've heard all the great points about, talking to the mic. And I have one thought about the checkerboard, the Polish Cherokee area. I lived it. I've lived there since 1986. I watched the annexation occur. We're a happy youth. There's no animosity. That part of this is city, part of this is Campbell. In fact, I helped take the petition down the street and get signatures for a corporation. I had one couple that really got on my case. They thought I was asking to be next to the city of Crosse. They just told them. And we pretty much straightened that out with the sign. So when the city's talking about the heroism of helping us with the large fires, well, that's what municipalities do. They help each other. We don't need a pat on the back, but just what they're there for. So I thank you for your time. Have a good evening.
Oh, it's Scott Gardner. Then followed by Eric Engelholt, then Mike Horstman.
Scott Gardner, and it's 231 Shelley Lane. And I'm here to speak for, being a resident, but I also own a business here. And I believe in 20 years owning a business, I haven't had any services that I haven't needed. Or, I'm experiencing services that I need that Town of Campbell can provide for us. And I'm very happy with how it's gone. And I know this, like, I started a business and I got to grow. And the Town of Campbell was always on board for us doing what we're gonna do. Well, it wasn't more than a couple years after I started getting going, the city of La Crosse started doing what I was doing. They put in exactly what I was doing on their own private land, and I couldn't do anything about it. But it totally took away from my business, so I got a little bit of animosity toward the city. Well, this year I come out to do what I'm doing, and the town, not the town, the city, has put in docks or like big machines to compete with me even more. Now we're selling kayak rental over, I could jump there, I could walk there in 2 seconds, and I'm trying to run a business in the town of Campbell, and that's what they're doing to me. So I know, if there's people in the town of Campbell, 55 years business will be gone. They will come in and they'll start using their parks, they'll start putting stuff against me, they're already doing it. So I gotta say, I can't stand the thought of an annex, okay? And as a Town of Campbell businessman and resident, I would appreciate if you guys would think about not turning somebody like me right on their heel. And I'll be upside down too so fast that it will make your head spin, okay?
Followed by Mike Horstman, followed by the Barches.
Thank you for coming. My name is Eric Engelholt. I live on 2929 Bay Shore Drive North. And we moved to French Island October of 2020. Little did we know what was going to happen to us. But one of the first experiences, I get down a little bit. One of the first experiences we had was first week, our neighbors across the street gave us an apple pie. We'd never had that before. We've been married for 35 years, lived in Minneapolis, Indianapolis, lived on Alaska. Like that sort of love never happened. So the move went fairly smooth. We had a few challenges. Excel Energy said that 70-foot ash tree has to come down. We're like, what? That's like thousands of dollars. How do we do that? Neighbors chipped in. They came over with chainsaws, chains, ropes, and a car to pull it down. And then it didn't come down. It went right next to another tree. What do you do on the island if you have tree problems? You call.
Right.
Who's Troy? I don't know who's Troy. And on a Sunday afternoon, he comes with his big barrel truck and helps us get out of that mess. I was amazed at this. So what I'm saying is, what we've witnessed in these 5 years is the people around us are not just the ones that live next door. They're actually neighbors. And we've never lived in a community of neighbors. And it just is phenomenal. We love the autonomy, that French Island community, like the frequency that I've started to interact with the board. Thank you so much. The transparency, the authenticity, it's just phenomenal. One last thing I wanted to say is, the power went out one time during a storm. And when the power came back on, I had to turn on my router, and that turned on my alarm system. And I didn't quite know how it worked. Within 5 minutes, I hear it. I open the door, 11 o'clock at night, and it's 2 police officers and canine unit within 5 minutes. And because the security system is in my wife's name, they wouldn't leave until my wife appeared and she was in her jammies. So I wasn't here prior to 6 p.m., so I don't know what happened at the first 2 hours of this meeting. It sounds like it was lively, but 5 years, we're not moving away. We actually love this place. I could choose anywhere to buy $1 million home, but I'm staying here because I love it.
Horseman, followed by Michelle Barch, Lynn Barch, and then Brian Pompey, then John Bush. Go ahead.
Thank you, I'm Mike Horseman. I hadn't planned on talking tonight, but when I saw the city's presentation, I felt that I needed to correct some inaccuracies. I've got 37 years in public safety, and I built 2 houses in the town of Campbell. The first one with my wife is we were getting married in 1997. This was our dream place. We built the second one in 2011. When it comes to public safety, there are no boundaries. The city of La Crosse is a biggest benefactor as anybody else when it comes to public safety, whether that's law enforcement or firefighting. If there's an emergency in the city of La Crosse, trust me, everybody's coming. The sheriff's office is routinely asked to help within the city of La Crosse, and we do so repeatedly. If there's a big emergency, when you have your downtown fights with 20 or 30 people fighting, the town of Campbell, the city of Alaska, the UWL Police Department are all there to help. Quite honestly, it's no different than a nurse who has a patient that crashes. The nurse knows she's not alone. Other nurses and medical staff are coming to help. No different than public safety. If there's a fire in the city of La Crosse, the town of Campbell, the town of Shelby, the city of Alaska are coming to help, and they regularly do, because most fires happen where? In the city of La Crosse. You talked about libraries. The town of Campbell has one, part of the county library system. The city of La Crosse, for those that don't know, I love libraries. As a kid, that was my dream. I got to go to the library. The city of La Crosse is closing 2. It has closed 1, it's closing 2. The county is not closing libraries to include the one in the town of Campbell. You talked about schools. Okay. Most of you know, I grew up in private school, I went to Catholic schools. My neighbors all went to public schools. They're embarrassed by what the La Crosse School District has become. They pulled kids out, they moved out of districts. The school district was closing schools. They have closed, and they've also talked about closing Logan High School and moving it to the south side. That was defeated in the referendum. The population of the city of La Crosse is aging and declining. That's why they're closing schools and losing their tax base. I grew up on South 33rd Street, 3400 block. My mother bought that house with my father in 1967. Repeatedly, they had problems once they closed, once they built the south side Walmart, where it was all drainage. they had backups, so my mom's house flooded multiple times during heavy rainstorms due to sewer backups. The city of La Crosse during heavy rains repeatedly has problems with cars getting flooded on Mosley Boulevard and other high avenues. You want to talk about the town hall? Fortunately, I don't have to go there often, but when I do, polite, professional, friendly, knowledgeable. My 83-year-old mother had to go to City Hall last year. She couldn't figure anything out and got no help. So don't talk about what the city provides. Campbell gives us everything we need and more, and apply to professional.
Michelle Labarge, followed by Brian Pompey, and then John Ford, and then Leslie Root.
Labarge, I live at 26 on Thomas Street. And thanks to the board for coming this evening. I guess I just want to make a couple comments. One, I think we've heard multiple people testify that the community we have here is a tight-knit community. We do well for each other. We help our neighbors in need. We have a great fire department who's, we know the people that are on this volunteer fire department. When they show up at the neighbor's house, if there's a fire, they're friendly faces, so people know we're there quickly. My father had an accident almost 30 years ago, and the first responders that arrived were within minutes of him getting the off the vehicle and doing some construction. They were within minutes of this accident happening. And the people that were coming up to us were people we knew. They weren't strangers, they weren't hired, they were friends and neighbors. And that's just 30 years ago. And more recently, we've had other instances like family members needing care and things like that. The volunteers in our community show up so darn quickly. They're beating the ambulance there every darn time. And we really appreciate that. And I think, part of this meeting tonight is really a thank you to the people that are, supporting us through fire and that. You don't always get to say thank you. I've been essentially a lifelong resident of French Island. We moved here in 1968. So I've seen a lot of this. In all due respect to the city of La Crosse, you guys have been trying to nibble us to pieces for as long as I can remember. And trying to drive down the amount of land surface area we have through annexations, piecemeal acquisitions of land, having La Crosse City employees living in our communities and annexing their properties so they can still live here and work in La Crosse, which I think really says a lot about the town of Campbell in many respects too, that people want to live here. I think a government that is smaller, like if we're able to incorporate. I walk down the street, I bump into our representatives, we're talking to them all the time. And a smaller form of government is certainly much better than if we get absorbed by the city of La Crosse, where we're just one screaming neighborhood in a map of multiple neighborhoods. And I think our government has served us very well. People are responsive, they've addressed our problems. I have no complaints about how our town board has served us. And I think, we've proven that we have the capability to govern ourselves. We have the resources that it takes to, figure out difficult problems, particularly this PFAS in our water, which again, some people allude to as a gift from the city of La Crosse, right? We came from the airport. But we worked out that, we've got a plan to get ourselves a water system, and then the kudos go out to all the people that work on it. You kind of watch from the sidelines, but Islanders are close-knit people. And in some respects, we're close-knit because the Crosse has been trying to annex us for so long. We're kind of tired of it. And we want to get our own incorporation so that we can continue to govern ourselves, have a lower tax burden than we would get from the city of Crosse. And it's hard to sign up for becoming a member of the city of La Crosse when we know that they've set aside monies to fight our annexation, but they don't set aside money for their own darn libraries. Come on, folks. This doesn't seem to make sense to me that they would propose libraries, but yet try to spend money in legal fees to fight our incorporation. So anyway, I'm very.
Want to say, do a lot of money and you never want to talk. So I just want to say my husband and I also both worked at the USGS office here on French Island for our entire career. So we lived, worked, raised our families, built our home, and we want to stay here and go Islanders.
Followed by John Corish, Leslie Roots.
Hi, my name is Brian Pompey. I'm a professor in the Department of Geography and Environmental Science at the University of Wisconsin-Crosse. My background is in water resource management. For the last 2 summers, I've taken students around the island to go into residents' households to ask them about their perception of response to PFAS contamination. And I just had to look at my laptop real quick here to pull up some data that I organized. So of the households representing 77 islanders that we talked to, 76% of islanders view the response to PFAS contamination favorably. That is by the town of Campbell. They viewed it favorably. Whereas 64% viewed the response by the city of Crosse unfavorably. So I'll say that again. Of the 77 residents we talked to, 76% saw Campbell and their board favorably. 64% saw the city of Crosse unfavorably. When I asked those same residents what they wanted as a solution, a majority of them wanted a municipal supply provided by their own town, the town of Campbell. So I just thought I should share that data with you that had accessible to me. That's someone who studied water resource management. My recommendation to the board would be to allow Campbell to become their own village and have their own municipal water supply.
Followed by Leslie Roots.
Oh, you guys, thanks for coming. Thanks for listening to us. John Corish, 341 Town Court. That address goes way back. I'm a product of Hazel Aiken and George Richmond. They were 2 of the names of the 6 original farms on French Island. I've lived here 60 years. That's just because that's all my family founded this place. The last section of Interstate 90 that was built joining coast to coast was Mississippi River to Toma. And rumor goes back that the biggest reason my grandpa didn't have his crops harvested yet, they couldn't tear up his land. So I started a business on French Island when I was 28 years old. We had a new town chairman at that time. I went in to get my building permit and stuff, and I needed a variance, had to have a variance board meeting. Dan Kapanke was new on the chairman. And I had all of the neighbors of the property I wanted to build my business on showed up, and they had a big letter, and nobody wanted me to have this business. Dan Kapanke had us all come up, sit at the table. He said, let's work this out. He said, you guys, this neighborhood all floods, don't it? So all of them said yes. He said, John's got enough land, we could put a lift station on his land to pump your land, keep it free from flooding. We left that meeting with an agreement between everybody. So I know there's been a lot of thanks and deserved to the fire department and to everybody else. Dan's been fighting fights for French Island for a long time, and they get bigger and bigger, and he's leading us through this time. The last thing I wanted to address is, they said that, we come over to the city of La Crosse and we use their parks and stuff. But I seem to think every Tuesday and Thursday night, the La Crosse Men's Tavern League plays their games on French Island. And I seem to think on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, a lot of tournaments go on from the city of La Crosse. 12 and under, 14 and under, 10 and under baseball games, those all happen on French Island too. And he makes anything he wants to do it.
And then I think we're back at John Thiessen, Daryl, who I can't figure out the last name, 445 Central Road, Julie Rockwell, and Paul Urbanek. So we are back at the beginning. So after you, if these 4 names don't come up, we hear the petitioner's concluding remarks. Okay, so go ahead.
All right, thank you. Good evening, my name is Leslie Root, and I work at the La Crosse County Library. A couple days a week I'm in Alaska, and Monday and Wednesday I am at the Town of Campbell Library. And I am a resident of the city of La Crosse. I have lived in La Crosse since 1993, which makes me sound really old, but I guess I kind of am. But what I wanted to share with you is that while I have loved living in La Crosse, it has been a great blessing for me to be able to come over to the town of Campbell and work. That started in September of 2024. Up until then, most of my life, I just was living here. I've worked in other places and haven't had much chance to be on the island very much. And at first I was just struck by the beauty of nature and the surroundings. But even more than that is the beauty of the community that's here on the island. People are so kind and wonderful. I love being at the library. Grandmas bring their granddaughters in so that they can play and have a safe spot and check out books and foster a love of reading. Just on Monday, I had a gentleman drop off flyers because Santa's coming to all the parks in French Island. How cool is that? Followed by members of the beautification committee, these lovely group of volunteers that work so hard to make the parks and outside the library beautiful. And then, oh my goodness, our friends of the Campbell Library, wonderful volunteers who work so hard to help support our library programming. And we love to program events at the Campbell Library. We had Wizard of Oz where we showed the movie and families dressed up in costumes. It was so much fun. And also we've had just lots of different opportunities for families to come in and enjoy books, foster a love of reading, and just enjoy being in the community. It has really been an honor and a privilege for me for the last year and a half to spend 2 days a week here on French Island, and I look forward to many more years to come. Now, I do love living in La Crosse. I'm not going to lie about that, but I certainly support your efforts to keep that spirit of community and the foundations that you've worked so hard to build and protect and cherish those because they are truly special. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you so much, Joseph Beeson, Daryl from 445 Central, Julie Rockwell, or Paula Urbanek. Any of you here wish to testify? All right, then petitioners, if you'd like to give your concluding remarks, and then I will give my concluding remarks.
Set your timer for 1 minute. I want to point out that the city brought to your attention the action of the board, not the board, it was the DOA then, 1966 and 1977. Lots of change between then and now, including the law, by the way. As it relates to the law, the city presented a tortured analysis of the 5 standards under 660207. I'm not going to address those today because we've been sitting here a long time. You've been very patient. We thank you for that. I will deal with it in our written response to what we received yesterday, and invite you to please pay careful attention to us. Finally, I want you to do so looking at some of the incorporation approvals this board has given. Because I would say that the standards apply to Lake Hallie, Ridgefield, Bristol, Summit, Bloomfield, Harrison, and Summers pale in comparison to how this petition meets those standards. And we do. And thank you and look forward to your decision making and the approval of this petition. Thank you.
First, I can say a lot of left because we had to. It's been a long sit. Thank you so much for your patience. We appreciate that and hearing all of our residents. Thank you all for coming and all of those of you that have spoken. We appreciate that very much. I think you got a flavor of who we are here tonight. I think I have to go into that very much. We had all these people talking. Man, it's like music for 4 hours. I could do another 4 hours. But we're not going to. But I just want to correct a couple of one thing is, yeah, we've spent some money on water because we don't have any money in our water utilities. So we're going backwards a little bit, but despite that, we still have over $1 million surplus in our general account. We have surplus in our utility account. And according to state statute, we can borrow up to like 26, 27 million. Our indebtedness right now on the government side is, general operations is less than $1 million a month. So we have room to grow there if we want to. We are sound, we have a very sound financially for present time. So again, thank you very much for being here. Madam Chair, your turn.
All right, thank you. Thank you everyone tonight for your attendance and your testimony. The board's next meeting will be a virtual meeting to discuss how this petition squares with the statutory standards. So that meeting has yet to be scheduled, but Brad will be reaching out to the board members to schedule the meeting. So they'll be reaching out to us to schedule the meeting. We will let the petitioners and the intervenors know. And they are welcome to attend the meeting virtually as well. And then a reminder that if anyone wants to submit additional information, you want to submit more information, written comments, you have until December 19th to do that. Our email address is on each of the handouts, so send those to the WI Municipal Boundary Review at wi.gov, Wisconsin Municipal Boundary Review at wi.gov, or you can send them snail mail to our PO box. But until December 19th, that's the magic cutoff for those comments. Everything we received tonight, it's all public, it all goes on the website, so there's nothing hidden as far as this process goes. And again, at what happens at the next meeting, just know it's a really interesting one, is because our two staff members here, they will go through and they will, like, they're working on drafting the finding of the petition. They'll go through and tell you what's happening with each of the standards, and then each of the petitioners and intervenors will be able to answer the questions or address the findings that we see. So it's a good meeting, but then at that last meeting, there's two meetings coming up. This next one is the one that you can, they'll ask questions and things like that. That last meeting is for you to listen only. No one gets to talk at that meeting except for us. Okay. So at the next meeting is really interesting because again, we'll be asking questions to you, you'll be answering questions back to us. So, I guess if you're interested, prepare to watch those. But thank you very much for attending tonight. I appreciate it. And I'm going to adjourn the public hearing at 7:41. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thank you.